Alright, let's meet our main character, Logan, the oldest son of a noble family that's completely broke. The maids in the house are terrified of him, and honestly, they have every right to be. I mean, just look at the psycho expression on his face. One day, Logan heads to the castle to see his father, but the guards refuse to let him pass. They claim the prince isn't worthy, he's just the son of the baron's former wife, after all. You see, people were either scared of Logan, or they just straight up hated him. Because up until now, he'd been nothing but an arrogant, despicable piece of trash, but that's all about to change. Because this Logan isn't the same person they think they know. Our protagonist's patience finally snaps at the guard's disrespect. He yanks a pair of gloves from his belt and slaps them right across the guard's face, a formal challenge. For the humiliation the prince just suffered, there will be blood settled in a duel. Logan taunts the guard, calling him the real failure, a mediocre soldier who never amounted to anything. Dominant absolutely explodes with rage, his emotions getting the better of him. Blind with fury, he accepts the prince's challenge. They march to the dueling arena, armed with wooden swords. No, you and I both know a real knight can use aura, and even with a wooden blade, they could easily kill a weaker warrior. Everyone watching was convinced the prince was about to die. He was famous for being a total loser. Dominan lunges forward with all his might, his aura flaring. But Logan dodges with an impossibly precise movement, striking down right on top of Dominan's blade. The sheer force of the blow sends the guard's sword flying from his grip. The entire crowd is stunned into silence. How on earth did the loser, Logan, suddenly know how to fight? But Logan wasn't done, offering him a second chance. The soldier just stares, dazed on the ground. He can't deny it. That single strike was unbelievably heavy, almost deadly. Logan doesn't even wait for an answer. He just starts laying into him with the wooden sword. This is payback for all the earlier disrespect, and this single fight left all the castle soldiers completely terrified. Prince Logan was no longer the weakling they all knew. The reason for this massive change, none of them could possibly guess the truth. Because in another lifetime, at 40 years old, Logan was a common soldier, his family long dead. The other soldiers constantly mocked him, because as a young man, Logan had lost a duel to his own younger brother. They couldn't understand how he even became a soldier after his family was wiped out. In that timeline, the kingdom was betrayed, and enemy soldiers swarmed the capital. Every soldier fought bravely, Logan included, but it wasn't enough. The kingdom fell and every last one of them was slaughtered. On that day, Logan died on the battlefield. His mind was flooded with a lifetime of regrets. He had always been a terrible person and wished he could ask his father for forgiveness one last time. Suddenly, Logan shot up in his bed, completely panicked. He'd been injured by a blow to the head during that duel with his younger brother. The protagonist was in total shock. Was it all a nightmare? No, he remembered everything with perfect clarity. Logan stared out the window and saw his family's castle, the home of his youth. Just then, his younger brother entered the room, terrified of how Logan might react. He was literally trembling with fear, because Logan had always been a monster to everyone, especially to him. Logan remembered the last time they spoke. He'd treated him like garbage, and that was the last time his brother, Rome, ever tried to be close to him. Logan's head was pounding, flooded with memories from 2 lifetimes. But here's what gets me. Rome genuinely cared for his brother. Despite everything model about Logan's toxic attitude, so Rick told the younger brother, Roman, to just leave. But for the first time ever, and watch this, Logan didn't scream. He spoke gently, telling Roman to come closer. The kid was in shock, so was the butler, Rick. Young Master Logan was definitely acting weird today. Logan wanted to praise Roman's strength, but the words caught in his throat. He needed to do more than that after treating him like garbage for all this time. So Logan hugged his brother for the very first time, asking for forgiveness for every horrible thing he'd done. He admitted he was a terrible brother, and that Roman was amazing. Nobody could hold back tears at this scene. After they talked for a bit, Roman left Logan alone. Our main character looked out the window, knowing for sure this wasn't a dream. He had returned to the past, and this time he was going to do things differently and save his family. A maid then walked into the room by mistake and apologized. Rick rushed in right behind her, apologizing to the young master on her behalf. Mary didn't do it on purpose. This whole display was pathetic. Logan now realized just how ridiculous it was that everyone lived in absolute fear of him. Just how much of a monster was he back then? Logan says it's fine and asks them to bring him some paper and a pen. Rick and Mary exchange a look of pure panic. Is the young master actually going to work now? When they brought what he asked for, Logan thanked them. Rick's mind completely short-circuited. Did his master just say thank you? Now the servants are convinced they're dreaming, and once again, Logan realizes what a piece of trash he used to be. He asks to be left alone to work. But before that, he remembers the war against the Empire, coming in 10 years. And that is what will destroy his family, leaving them weak and drowning in debt. So stick with me here. His goal isn't just to change himself, but his entire family's future. On top of that, an internal war in his region, just a year from now, was the first crack that started to shatter his territory's reputation. After working hard, writing for a while, Logan decided to go and see his father. On the way, he noticed the staff literally turning their faces away to avoid him. They knew Logan could end their lives on a whim. A maid carrying clean clothes didn't see the master and tripped, falling flat on the ground. The girl froze. She was done for. Her life was over, but that's not what happened. With a gentle hand, Logan helped her up. Maybe it was a miracle. The girl then saw the master's face. I mean, look at this. That is not a kind face. She begged for her life and then ran without looking back. That's when Logan realizes just acting different isn't going to change things so quickly. After all, he's used to smiling like a damn murderer. When he reached his father's office and they announced he was there to see the Baron, Logan's expression turned cold. It had been over 20 years since he'd last seen his father. When he entered, the icy treatment was expected. The patriarch of House McLean, Patrick McLean, had absolutely no reason to respect his eldest son. Logan was there to ask for permission to go into isolated training on the family's mountain property. Our protagonist has the memories of his past life. He knows the training to become a knight. But his current body was that of a useless, lazy piece of junk. Besides that, he needs to get money to change things, and becoming stronger will absolutely help with that. He has to be ready because in 3 months, trust me, we need to know who that girl is. So is Logan running away after getting crushed by Roman? That's the question. But no, for the first time, he admits he's weak and has wasted his life until now. He swears he's going to change, but his father Patrick has heard these excuses countless times. He won't allow it because his son's problem runs deeper than just a lack of effort. And Logan knows it. He confesses to his father that his attitude is the real problem. He's going to fix it, but his father is completely done with his empty promises. He orders him to leave. The request is denied. This is the absolute consequence. But Logan tells him straight. He knows he's been foolish and immature up to now. And through this training, he's going to take his very first step towards changing for real. Not even the most stone-hearted father can completely abandon their own child. So Patrick agrees. This is Logan's one final chance to turn things around. However, before leaving, he asks if Logan really thinks 3 months is enough to catch up to Roman. Logan answers firmly, this training isn't to defeat Roman, it's to defeat himself. As his father walked out of that room, for the first time in a long time, Patrick felt a flicker of pride. And our boy felt that shift, even though his father didn't say a single word. Logan knew that changing was worth it. He immediately headed for the mountains. For the next 3 months, this place will be his entire world, and his goal is to train his body and, more importantly, achieve something bigger. You and I know true warriors can defeat even a dragon by mastering the life force in their cores. 3 grueling months passed, with our hero training every single day. He pushed to his absolute limit until finally, he formed his core, something he only did at 40 in his past life. With this power, he could now push his body's limits far beyond their breaking point. On his very last day of training, he stood before a massive tree. Time to test out his strongest move by focusing every last drop of his aura. He channels that energy straight into his sword and through his muscles. The strike is so powerful it cuts through space itself to reach its target and slice it in two. This is the kind of power he only obtained at the very end of his previous life. But now he can already use it. Even so, the strain on his weaker body is immense. This is definitely a last resort move. Now, it's finally time to go back home. It's time to start making some real changes, and first on the list, his clothes. He absolutely reeks, but when he got home and tried to see his father, the guard Dominan completely blocked his path, saying only those with direct blood can pass. Only those of the McLean family line can enter without authorization. And in that moment, Logan realizes just how little power he has left. I know what you're thinking. That's right, Logan challenges Dominan to a duel right then and there, shocking everyone. He easily defeats the trained soldier, a perfect display of his new strength. A combination of raw training and combat knowledge, a warning to anyone else who might get ideas. Later in his father's office, Logan and Patrick finally have a talk. His father admits what he saw was impressive, acknowledging his son's awakening. He asks him what exactly happened during his training. Logan is shocked his father was even watching. He never expected that. He simply says he got rid of his greed and just let go. As he kept training with that mindset, a moment came when he felt a new power. A force filling him up from the inside. It sounds like a total lie, he knows. But Logan reflected that this was a deep truth he had learned in his past life. It was an insight that came only after he gave up on avenging his family. Trust me, that's a key detail. How he only awakened his ability to use force after he turned 40. His father seemed impressed that this simple realization triggered such a change and said that his son had truly grown. But he was also furious because after this breakthrough, the first thing Logan did was attack a knight. Logan insists that the guy got exactly what he deserved, asking if his father had heard the full story from the other soldiers. His father says yes, but still feels those measures were too extreme. They weren't. Logan snaps back, surprising his dad. After all, the man was trying to deceive his lord's own blood and play him for a fool. Let that slide, and it becomes a poison that destroys the family's discipline. The young man then reflects on how hierarchy is the bedrock that keeps any organization running. You shake that foundation, and the whole structure weakens, a lesson he learned after 10 years as a mercenary. One thing he knows for sure is when you're dealing with a bunch of armed men, you have to establish absolute order in one decisive move. What happened today was a lesson for all the other knights. His father concedes that Dominion was largely to blame, since he failed his duty and tried to trick Logan. But what he did was still way too risky, and he should hold back for now. Logan is shocked by how easily his father forgives him, a complete 180 from his past life. Seeing his stunned face, his father even jokes, asking if he'd prefer a punishment. I'm good, Logan replies quickly. His father continues, saying he doesn't think what he did was right, and warns him never to do it again without his permission, since he hasn't even been officially given his rank yet. Logan respectfully says he understands. A moment later, his father announces that his fiancée, Reina, will be visiting them very soon. At first, the young man seems taken aback by the news, but it's not surprise. It's pure, unfiltered excitement because the day he finally gets his hands on some cash is coming. And here's where it gets interesting. Princess Reina Wolf is introduced. All the ladies present are left speechless, and all the guards are green with envy. As she approaches, she greets Lord Emlan with perfect grace, saying it's been too long and asking about his health, the patriarch. Absolutely stunned by Reina's beauty. Comments on what a beautiful woman she's become since their last meeting. Rick also watches from afar, impressed to see her all grown up. But then he glances over at Master Logan, who doesn't seem the least bit fazed by her arrival. Raina says she has a letter from her father, the Count, and then begins to read it aloud. The letter is addressed to Baron Patrick McLean, and it is so painfully boring that over the next 30 minutes, even the guards nearly doze off. However, the letter's conclusion jolts everyone back to reality. The final request was, due to some unavoidable circumstances, that the arranged marriage between Raina and Logan be officially called off. After hearing this, the young man instantly puts it together. The message was simple. They thought Patrick Emlan would become a much stronger Aura user. But instead, he's been stuck as a high-ranking knight for over 20 years. And let's be real, Logan is a nobody. So it makes no sense for the powerful Wolf clan to tie themselves to the Emlans. They want out. Patrick is absolutely furious. They're breaking off the engagement for no good reason. He knew the wolves were just trying to publicly humiliate them. Rhea shot that down immediately, saying she actually asked to be the messenger. She was afraid Patrick would jump to that exact conclusion. She wanted to personally clear up any misunderstanding, then she launched into a story. She spoke of vivid memories from her year at their home, as a child, good memories. Times she shared with Logan in this beautiful, peaceful place, and how she never wanted to let go of those moments, but she says there's nothing she can do now. She is bound to her family and has no choice but to follow their decision. So the best she can do is come apologize to Logan and Patrick in person. Everyone is floored by her words, saying her heart is as beautiful as her face. Everyone, that is, except Logan, his stepmother Mary, and Chiros. They aren't buying it. Now pay attention, because Logan cuts right through the act, asking Raina for the real reason. He says he wants to know exactly what these unavoidable circumstances are. In his mind, Logan thinks of his stepmother, Rand's biological mother, and her ambition. She's always seen him as an enemy because of the whole succession battle. He didn't think she'd get involved, but it seems the family's honor is a different story. Rand just apologizes again, completely dodging the question he just asked. She claims she doesn't know the reason, arguing she's just someone who will marry out of the family, so her father doesn't discuss important matters with her. Mary is absolutely furious, concluding that considering everything, she gets it now. She understands why Rhea came to announce the breakup without any real reason. Rhea, looking scared to death as her white dress picks up brown stains from the floor, looks up at them and finally announces that, for the inconvenience they've caused, the wolves are willing to pay 3 million gold pieces as compensation. 3 million gold for ending the engagement. The family's financial manager nearly faints. And Logan's eyes light up. I mean, who wouldn't get excited about that? He thinks he's about to get rich, but nope, not happening. Hearing that, Patrick nearly explodes with rage, asking how she could dare offer such a thing. A knight from the Wolf House instantly jumps in front of Princess Rhea to protect her. He begs the patriarch to calm down, but Patrick just scoffs. He asks if he's a high-ranking knight like himself, admitting it's impressive for his age. And then he continues, saying that maybe injuring the Wolf family's rising star would be a fair trade for the dishonor they've brought upon his own family. The knight replies that his master, Cairnwolf, considers Lord McLean to be an honorable man and that he'd never go after the young princess or someone younger. Rhea then speaks up, saying she doesn't want to buy their honor with money. She asks them to please accept the gold as a sincere gesture to maintain their friendship. Lord Emlan grinds his teeth, thinking he's been backed into a corner. If he pushes this any further, he's the one who's going to look like a man without honor. He realizes this is exactly why Cairn sent these young people. It was a setup. Patrick declares a visitor is a visitor, even if they bring bad luck. He states that the Emlanes are not the type to go after their guests. However, he will not accept the wolf's one-sided offer. House Emlan asks for only one thing: that the messenger, Princess Raina Wolf, gives a cordial apology directly to his son. Patrick also makes it clear he will refuse any other type of compensation. After all this, you and I both knew it had to happen. Logan finally intervenes. Logan had a request to make, and he knew they absolutely had to take the money. The idea of letting them off with just words was completely insane, especially considering the offer. 3 million gold is the entire annual budget for House McClan. On top of that, half of their current cash comes from his stepmother's family, the Cairns. He knows they'll go bankrupt the second that support gets cut, and all for what? Honor. He thinks everyone's lost their minds, and they have to take that 3 million. No matter what, so Logan steps up to his father, saying that he would like to accept the House of Wolf's terms, and just like that, Patrick explodes with rage. He asks if Logan is seriously trying to make him go back on his word. Logan understands the pressure his father is under, remembering that even without an aura, he's still a high-ranking knight, but unfortunately, that means nothing compared to the real power players in this kingdom. He knows if he can't handle this, he'll never move forward. Patrick fires back that House McClan is not so desperate that it needs to abandon its honor for a bit of coin. Logan just lets out a deep sigh. And pay attention here, because this is where Logan drops an absolute bombshell. He reveals that House McClan owes the bank 3 million gold pieces right now. A single year of interest is 150,000 gold, and without the Cairns' money, they would have gone bankrupt a long time ago. They are the biggest family of beggars in the kingdom. In fact, they owe more than 2 million gold to the very kingdom they serve as lords. So settling with a simple apology makes him worried. He's afraid rumors will spread that they simply bowed down to the wolves. That's when Rhea interrupts. She chimes in, saying the House of Wolf isn't such an irrational family. She claims they have the utmost respect for the honor of House McClan. At this, Logan asks if she really finds it so ridiculous to talk about being rational, since she's the one who showed up unannounced just to break off their engagement. Now I know what you're thinking, and we're about to see exactly why he despises her so much. A memory from his past life hits him. He remembers believing Rhea was genuinely sad about their inevitable separation, but that was before a certain horrifying incident. We see Logan and Rhea alone in a bedroom, and she thanks him for coming. She says that even though they're ending things, she wants to create one last memory with him. Logan, thinking his life was over, begs Rhea to run away with him that night. And that's when she throws a knife straight at his face, forcing him to draw his sword. He parries the attack, and in the next moment, Rhea rips her own clothes open. She tries to shame him, asking if he really thinks someone like him deserves her. Then she tells him to learn his place and get lost. She mocks him, asking why. He's even carrying a sword since he lost to a child, saying he just made things easier for her. Logan is completely floored, having no idea what's happening as Rhea starts screaming. As a thunderstorm rages outside, Rhea accuses Logan of becoming aggressive. She claims he tried to take advantage of her, and with his sword already drawn. It was a very easy lie for everyone to believe. Logan remembers that he was already blamed for so many other mistakes that not even his own family believed his side of the story. As a result, the McClans were forced to apologize to the wolves and pay a hefty compensation. He thinks to himself that because of her, he could never bring himself to trust women again. He calls Rhea a venomous snake, vowing that this time around, she won't get away with it. You and I both know this time, revenge is coming. His plan to change his family's reputation. Figuring that if he just gradually showed them he was different, he could convince them to change their minds too. But as you and I saw, the fight with Dominion changed everything. Soldiers turned a blind eye when he was disrespected. Nobody helped him. And while he was away, rumors spread that his brother beat him. He realized you can't transform this family by winning over people like them. With just 9 months until the regional war, his reputation didn't matter anymore. The only thing that mattered was saving his family. So Logan put his pride on the shelf and told Riina he would accept the Wolf family's compensation, completely ignoring what his own family wanted. Riina was left speechless. The patriarch was furious, asking how he dared to defy his will. But Logan replied that he wouldn't be satisfied with empty apologies, stunning his father. He continued, saying their honor can't be bought with pretty words that the wind just carries away. Its value would be just as light. Seeing her opening, Riina tries to play the situation, saying the Wolf family only wishes to obey the will of the Baron of House Emlan. Then she asks Patrick what he'll choose. Logan sees right through her little performance. She's just trying to save her father's reputation. And he's pretty sure she's terrified of having to pay out 3 million gold. The patriarch, looking down on Riina, says that as head of the family, he is satisfied with only a sincere apology. But he'll leave it to Logan to decide whether that apology is actually sincere or not. At this, his stepmother, Marion, is absolutely enraged. Patrick looks at the young man and tells him to think very carefully. Because if he accepts money for his dishonor, he's opening the door for his honor to be bought and sold forever. Logan doesn't hesitate. He can't give in on this. He declares that as the person whose engagement was broken. He accepts the compensation offered by the House of Wolf. Marion is shocked, and Riina is visibly upset. After the choice was made, his father said with disappointment that he thought Logan had gotten better, but he'd actually changed for the worse. He even blames himself for failing to teach him the true value of honor. Logan doesn't say it out loud, but he knows everything he's doing is for the family's survival. Back in his room, after receiving the huge payment, the young man is interrupted by a sharp knock on the door. Thinking it's Rick, he tells him to come in, but instead it's Dwayne, the family's financial advisor. Seeing him there, Logan immediately wonders what this guy is up to. We get a peek inside Dwayne's mind, recalling how as the financial advisor, he had to manage the estate with a budget that just kept getting smaller and smaller. He had soldiers demanding new weapons and servants running out of supplies for the winter. To make up for the lack of funds, he was constantly begging the patriarchs. Was he an advisor or the king of beggars? He thought that if this wasn't his hometown, he would have resigned a long time ago, but now he finally has a chance to rest easy. And you and I know where this is going, the only person in his way, the family idiot. He thinks to himself that Logan will have to split that 3 million. Dwayne told the young, let's watch this financial advisor try to sweet-talk our guy, claiming he made such a great impression the day before. How he defended himself and didn't yield an inch under all that pressure, truly an apprentice worthy of being the heir to the McLean family. While Dwayne lays on the praise, he's totally convinced his flattery has deeply touched Logan. After all, the kid had never been praised for anything before. He just used to mess things up. He figures taking his money is going to be easy, but Logan, not the least bit impressed. Dwayne presses on, saying in these dark times, 3 million gold is like rain in a desert. That Logan's genius move allowed the family to finally breathe again. But the young man's face is pure ice, asking why the family would be relieved when that money is his. Hearing this, Dwayne loses all hope. He thinks Logan's actually going to hoard it all. But he struggles to keep his cool. After 20 years as McLean's financial advisor, subservience had basically become a professional skill. And this situation was no different. So he starts to cry, leaving Logan a bit stunned. Who asks if the family situation is really that bad. Dwayne goes on, saying he doesn't know if Logan is aware. But the family owes 3 million gold to the Cooper Bank. He wanted to keep explaining that the interest alone was 150,000 gold, but Logan cuts him off, finishing the sentence for him. Dwayne, totally surprised, asks if he already knew. And the kid just says the interest shouldn't be a problem. It's harvest season, after all, and they should be able to cover it with that money. Dwayne tries to argue, saying that just managing their lands costs a fortune and they're always on a tight budget. He pleads that if he could just help a little bit, things would change, but Logan interrupts him again, completely done with the act. Dwayne asks why he won't help, since he thought Logan was fighting for the family. And Logan agrees. He says he will use the money for the good of the family. But here's the twist, not to cover the Baron's immediate bills. Instead, he needs it to prepare for the future. Dwayne is furious, thinking Logan has no clue what he's talking about and should just hand over the money. Logan then asks if he's correct in saying that even if he paid the debt, it wouldn't really change their overall situation much. Dwayne argues a larger budget would make managing the estate easier for at least a couple of years. The young man immediately asks what would happen after that, pointing out that even so, they just fall right back into debt since they have no special products to sell. He calls it a vicious cycle, and he's trying to break it with his own plan, which is what he needs the money for. And that's the moment you and I see Dwayne's mind completely blown. He wonders if this is really the same delinquent he knew, thinking to himself that Logan was just a kid who couldn't care less about family business. The young man says he has a favor to ask of Dwayne, and if he helps, he might even share the money to pay some of the family's bills. Dwayne asks what he needs, and Logan tells him he needs to gather some mercenaries. Later, he's seen talking with Rick. It looks like he's getting ready to leave again. And Rick asks where the hell he's going, saying it hasn't even been that long since he got back. Logan declares he's leaving to make money, but Rick immediately points out that he already has plenty. Logan insists he needs more, and stick with me because his plan is wild. The patriarch would never let him leave now, not with the mood in the castle so tense. But Logan replies that he's not even going to ask his father for permission. He's just going to slip out quietly. Rick is shocked by this, but Logan couldn't care less. He figures if he can't change his reputation now, it's never going to happen, so he has to build his power from the outside. Luckily for him, he knows exactly what's happening in the outside world. Just like when he was kicked out of the family in his past life, he knows his first step is to find a certain guy. Rick desperately tries to talk some sense into him, saying he's not thinking straight. Becoming a fugitive won't help, and you can see Logan is getting seriously annoyed. But Rick keeps pushing, asking what his grand plan is if he just runs away. He even says that if he's really leaving, he might as well just go ahead and walk all over him, which he's pretty close to doing, since Logan doesn't seem to care one bit. The young man replies that everything will be fine for his friend. He's going to write a letter to his father, so no one will blame him. Rick asks what he's going to write, but Logan just gives him a mysterious smile. Later, after Logan has disappeared, Rick takes the letter to the patriarch, who looks like he's about to unleash absolute hell. The letter itself was pretty formal. It started with a greeting, saying he was heartbroken over the whole engagement and had decided to leave for some fresh air, but that he would be back soon. Signed, Logan Emlan. After that, poor Rick just cried, praying for his friend's return. Now let's pause here. To really get this, you need to see the Emlan family's history. Just 200 years ago, they weren't like this. Their lands were massive, stretching across counties, and they were revered as the rulers of the southwest region in the Kingdom of Grandia. But then came the last 3 generations of leaders, under the current Lord Patrick Emlan. Their ancestors' incompetence got their family title demoted, and their territory shrunk considerably. The massive grain depot, once known as the Emlan Plains, was handed over to a powerful vassal, and their fertile lands were divided up. The place they ended up, basically kicked out, was the arid, dry land near the southern mountains, so the Emlanes were doomed to financial hardship. There were no real regional products, and the copper mines you'd expect in the mountains just weren't there. Logan realizes that even if they win the regional war, they just have to keep begging Ceros for help. To end this vicious cycle, he needs a lot of money. Way more than the 3 million he already has. He says there's someone here who can help him. As he enters Cairo, the largest commercial city in the Kingdom of Grandia, Merchants' voices are everywhere, offering rings, shields, and even fresh fruits and vegetables. The young man thinks that coming here really reminds him how remote the Emland barony actually is. He continues, thinking that based on his memory, the person he's looking for spent his youth here in Cairo. He was told the man lives nearby, the person he's searching for, his golden beetle, Philip Claude. And trust me, this guy is a key figure in the Ares Empire, the strongest nation on the continent, a centralized power based on merit. It's a system where talent is everything, no matter your gender, age, or where you're from. Let's be real, it's a nation where power and wealth are up for grabs. And a perfect example of this is Philip Claude from the Kingdom of Grandia. He's one of the richest merchants to ever move to the empire. The biggest arms dealer on the entire continent, a man known as the trader of his kingdom. But what people don't know is that despite being called the Golden Beetle, he secretly supported his homeland, using his own money to fund a miracle. The miracle of Grandia's sovereignty. Walking through the streets, Logan spots someone. And a thought crosses his mind. Wait, is that him, the kid in the middle of the street? He's just been scammed out of everything, wondering how he's going to survive. Not a single penny to his name. Logan watches him, remembering the rumors he'd heard. That the man's business had been destroyed by a scam, but seeing it with his own eyes. It was so much worse than he ever imagined. The boy looks like he's about to end it all. Now here's the moment it all begins. Logan approaches, trying to start a conversation. He asks if he's Philip Claude. Philip looks up, suspicious, but confirms it. He asks who Logan is, sizing him up. The red eyes, the steady gaze. This guy could be dangerous. Logan says he just wants to talk for a minute, but Philip isn't buying it. He's thinking, how does this young man even know my name? And in that moment, Philip sees a powerful emotion flash in Logan's eyes. It's something he's seen a million times as a businessman, pure greed. His mind starts racing. The timing, the old armor, this guy has to be a mercenary gangster. Logan tries to explain why he's there, but Philip just freaks out. He starts screaming that the payment date isn't here yet, that the sale of his property will be finalized in 3 days, so he should just come back then. Logan calmly tells him he's not there to collect any debt, but Philip doesn't listen. He's barking like a rabid dog, repeating that the sale hasn't gone through. He yells at the young man to leave him alone. Logan tries to calm him down again. And get this, he says he's not here to collect, but to invest money, leaving Philip speechless. Philip just stares, asking if he heard that right. Invest in him, Logan nods. Philip's mind is reeling. If this guy isn't a debt collector, then he must be a lunatic. Who in their right mind would want to invest in a total failure like him? But at the same time, a tiny spark of hope flickers. What if he's telling the truth? He asks how much he wants to invest. Logan just fires back, how much do you need? He says he'll give him enough to pay off all his debts and get right back on his feet. Philip, still on edge, studies Logan's face, analyzes the worn-out armor. He can tell by the dirt that he must have traveled a very long way. And that's when it all clicks. Logan tries again, asking how much he needs. But Philip cuts him off, calling him a disgusting scoundrel. He spits that if he was going to run a scam, he should have done a better job preparing. He's already been made a fool of once. He says Logan is no investor. And that crest on his armor, he recognizes it, the McLean barony from the southwest. To Philip, they're nothing, just a family of beggars living off their richer relatives. How could they possibly invest in anyone when they can't even pay their own debts? Besides, he warns Logan that if he gets caught impersonating a noble, the punishment is execution. He can't believe the audacity of this guy, thinking he picked the wrong guy since he's completely broke. But Logan analyzes the situation from a whole different angle. Even at rock bottom, Philip shows amazing judgment, exactly what you'd expect from a future business tycoon. He wonders how to calm the guy down, while Philip just screams in the street that he can't even afford to eat, let alone die. And right then, Logan gets an idea. He tells Philip to watch closely for a second, then flashes his aura, leaving him completely stunned. Philip realizes someone this brilliant, who awakened their power so early, would be an idiot to throw it away on a simple scam. He apologizes, explaining a lot has happened and he's on edge, then asks what Logan's real interest is. Logan says he wants to hire him forever, and as a bonus, he'll pay off his entire debt. Philip's skepticism comes right back. Does this guy's family even have the money for that kind of offer? Logan asks how much the debt is, guessing around $250,000, and says he'll pay it. Plus give him another $300,000, revealing a massive stack of cash. And yeah, you're not ready for this. Philip just stares at Logan, thinking he must be an angel, so he signs the contract. The terms are intense. If Philip, the subordinate, ever tries to harm his boss on purpose, he'll feel a pain so bad it's like his soul is being torn apart. This is no ordinary paperwork. The witch who sealed the deal tells Philip that if he doesn't like it, he better get strong enough to become a high-ranking knight, or pay a four-circle mage, or hire someone for hundreds of times the contract's value just to break the curse. Philip is speechless all over again. She just shoos them away, telling him to visit again sometime, and Philip can't help but wonder if he just totally screwed himself. He must have been delirious to see Logan as an angel, especially after realizing the guy just paid a fortune for a magic contract just to lock him in. For context, a single page of that contract is worth 30 slaves. Logan adds that of course they can't trust each other yet, they just met. So if he's going to invest a fortune, he needs a solid guarantee. And here's where we get a peek into Logan's real plan. He assures Philip that once they build trust, things will be different. He'll just get rid of the contract. He even extends his hand, a sign of good faith. Philip knows this contract is a total mess, no details. No deadlines, no conditions, but he has no choice but to trust Logan for now, so he shakes his hand. Philip asks what Logan needs him to do, and the answer he gets is simple. First things first, they need to buy some monster meat. Hearing this, the kid just calls Logan a complete psychopath. Logan isn't surprised. Philip's reaction is normal. Monster blood and flesh are full of poison. Burning it is the only sane thing to do. However, in just a few years, that whole situation is about to change big time. As soon as news spreads that you can make a monster blood neutralizer with basic ingredients, regions with little food start eating monsters to survive. That winter, they started treating all sorts of deficiencies by eating the Kellogg monster. Even guys with injuries in very private areas that left them sterile started seeing incredible results. A year later, the Royal Magic Tower confirmed everything. The Kellogg monster was hunted to extinction across the continent. Because the species just vanished after research proved it was fantastic for male vitality. And with that future knowledge, Logan figures he can easily make 3 million, maybe more. But walking next to this guy, you and I can see Philip still thinks he's following a certified madman. Logan's face sinks in disappointment, wondering if he should just make a run for it. All right, let's listen in as our hero and Philip start hashing out their next move in a tavern. Logan drops a bombshell. He wants to buy 1 million gold worth of monster meat. And Philip's reaction, he thinks the kid has completely lost his mind. But Logan tells him to calm down, assuring him he'll make a profit even with this huge expense. Philip is totally against it, asking Logan if he's absolutely sure about what he's doing. He says yes, so Philip switches gears, asking about the going price per unit to buy Kellogg meat. Logan explains that Kellogg meat is basically worthless now, people are just burning it. There are no buyers, so if he sent a total nobody to collect the bodies, it would only cost about 200 gold because of the kingdom's transport fees. And since that fee is per unit, hauling a massive load all at once would make the cost per piece drop like a rock. Philip is genuinely impressed. The fact Logan even thought about transport fees is brilliant. He has to admit the kid is right. He connects the dots with that price and a budget of 1 million gold. He must be planning to hire a mercenary guild for a kingdom-wide hunt, buying everything up. Logan confirms that's the plan. Then he asks Philip if he sees any issues with that. Philip says the entire plan is flat out wrong, since all that monster meat is being tossed. He shouldn't hire mercenaries, he should hire a merchant's guild for the price of cheap beef. Pay attention, because this is the pro-gamer move. Philip says there are merchants out there who will find and sell you absolutely anything for the right price, even if it's trash. If something's about to be thrown away, they'll offer to go get it for you. The young merchant is so confident, he says, they'll probably bring him all the Kellic meat in the entire kingdom the second he asks for it, all cut up and ready to go. Logan is blown away by Philip's idea, thinking his investment is already paying off. A little weirdly, he calls Philip an adorable punk for some reason. Philip tells him not to worry about money from now on and to just leave it all to him. After all, his own success is now tied to Logan's future. The young man then hands Philip a list. The items are strange: ironwood cartridges, springs, and glue. He tells Philip to stay in K and buy everything on the list in massive quantities. But Philip is skeptical again, asking if he's trying to build a toy factory or something. To which Logan replies that he has something much, much better in mind. In fact, you and I are about to find out the real plan. These are raw materials for weapons of war. He remembered how armaments made from these parts were used in the invasion of Grandia. That was back in his past life. Depending on the situation, a single soldier could use these weapons to hold off a fully armored knight. That's how powerful they were. He also remembered tasking Dwayne with hiring mercenaries before he even got here. So just putting these weapons in their hands would be enough to get a huge advantage. But first, he needed a craftsman who could actually make these weapons, and an instructor to properly train the new mercenaries. 2 days later, in Harran, the city of mercenaries, Logan sits down with Kaizalan, a rank merc trying to hire him. He offers him the job of instructor, but Kaizalan says he's never successfully trained anyone. Logan insists the job wouldn't be that hard. After all, he would only be training the rank C mercenaries that Logan was planning to hire anyway. Still reluctant, Kaizalan explains that whatever rumors Logan heard were probably exaggerated. He says all he's ever really done is give a few pointers to some young rookies, and that's it. Logan was entrusting this mission to a real pro. He knew exactly who to find: Kaizalan. And he wouldn't be fooled. Logan knew all about this guy from his past life. See, he knew Kaizalan could handle every weapon known to man, and on top of that, he had incredible skill with horses, but Kaizalan's true genius was as an instructor. After all, the mercenary squad he trained after retiring was legendary. But right now, he didn't seem interested in the job. So Logan offers 4,000 gold coins. Kaizalan still isn't playing ball. The man is playing hard to get, turning down the offer flat. Logan immediately ups the proposal. 6,000 still refused. He raises it again to 7,000, and once more. The stubborn man doesn't budge, trying to lecture Logan that money isn't everything. But Logan just raises the offer again to 8,000, and that's when it happens. Kaizalan finally caved, accepting the proposal and even thanking him for it. They talked, and Logan revealed he was the firstborn son of the Baron McLean family. He asked if Kaizalan wasn't curious why he was out here hiring mercenaries. Kaizalan shot back that he didn't care as long as the money was good. Walking through the streets, they witness a brutal sight: a man whipping a group of people. He's screaming that if they're late, he'll kill every last one of them. Kaizalan explains that this is Haram, the city of mercenaries and slaves. He warns Logan they'll see much worse ahead. You and I are about to watch this city turn into a slave market. Logan replies that he's well aware of the situation. He's even thinking of buying a slave here himself. A nearby merchant spots him. Thinking Logan's some clueless rich kid, he calls him over to his stall. He boasts about his wares, offering slaves at unbeatable prices, but then he sees him. The moment he spots Kaizalan, the merchant's face drains of all color. Logan just smirks, thinking this guy was worth every single coin. He arrives at a shop with more guards than the others and knows this is the place. An old man greets him. The merchant says he assumes Logan knows exactly what kind of establishment this is. Logan cuts right to the chase. He's here to buy a dwarf. The old man confirms he's in the right place, explaining that otherworldly races are rare. That's why they take such good care of them. He beckons Logan to come closer. Then he reveals a pair of elves, bragging about how hard they were to get. The old merchant keeps trying to sell him on the two elves, but Logan couldn't care less. He just tells the man to hand over the chained dwarf in the back. The merchant is a bit taken aback by his directness. He says that yes, it's obviously a dwarf and that Logan will find many uses for him. After all, dwarves are famous for being great craftsmen. And this one is a rare, expert-level smith. Trust me, that detail changes everything. Logan is genuinely surprised. He always assumed all dwarves were born with that skill. Incredible manual dexterity, a race that lives to create and repair objects. And an expert-level dwarf was way beyond what he had hoped to find. Now he wouldn't even have to worry about the work he was planning. Logan asks for the price. The merchant says that since he's an expert, the starting value is no less than 200,000 gold coins. Logan just gives him a dead stare. Do I look like a sucker to you? The old man nearly craps his pants and immediately lowers the price by 50,000 coins. He thinks about how easily he made that old man drop the price. The dwarf looks over at Logan, calling his move ruthless, but our guy just shrugs. To him, that was just basic negotiation. The dwarf asks where they're headed next. Logan tells him they're going to the Mechlin estate in the southwest, where he'll be putting the dwarf's skills to the test. The dwarf simply agrees. It was just as Logan figured. Dwarves are known for their incredible crafting skills, but not slave dwarves. Even though they're a race of master craftsmen without passion, they can't create true masterpieces, so Logan decides to awaken that passion in him. He promises that if the dwarf gives his all for the next 20 years, he'll send him back to the mountains. 20 years is nothing for his kind. The dwarf is overjoyed by the promise, but before he can thank him, another slave breaks free. And you're gonna want to watch this. Everything is about to get complicated. The poor guy doesn't get far before a soldier tackles him to the ground. But Logan realizes something. That slave looks familiar. A kid with blue hair and two different colored eyes, also blue, and suddenly it clicks. He ends up thinking out loud, which gets Kaiserun's attention. Logan can't believe it. How is it possible that the future noble slayer is right here? And right now, you and I are about to learn about an infamous aura user from his past life. This kid, once a slave, escaped after killing his masters, then went on an absolute rampage, murdering nobles and knights left and right before vanishing for 10 years. When he returned, he could use aura, proof he'd transcended humanity. And he made it his life's mission to kill every noble he saw, earning him that legendary title. Logan keeps piecing it together. The slave escape incident in his memory happened about a year after he became a mercenary, so the timeline fits. Right now, the kid is still just a slave. If Logan can save him, he'll have a future aura user on his side. The only problem, he's an unstoppable killer. But Logan figures if the kid becomes a weapon that can't be controlled, he can always just lock him up. As the master raises his whip to strike again, Logan draws his sword, blocking the blow aimed at the boy's leg. The master is completely caught off guard until he notices the family crest. He assumes Logan must be a customer and gets a smug look on his face. The slave trader tries to play it off, saying the merchandise was disobedient, so he had to train them. He asks Logan what he can do for him. Logan says he wants to buy some slaves, pointing to the two kids. But the merchant warns him, one's a redhead. The other has those unique blue eyes, so the price is going to be incredibly steep. He asks if he's sure. Logan insists. The merchant says it'll be at least 10,000 gold for each. Logan thinks to himself, a strong young slave is 300 gold. Yet this guy has the nerve to demand 100 times more for two kids who look like they're about to collapse. Now Logan knows that considering the future value of the noble slayer, 10,000 is a bargain, but there's no way this scumbag knows that. Besides, he refuses to let this crook get rich off him. So Logan calls him out, 30 times the asking price of a strong slave for two kids on the brink of death. I know what you're thinking, and yep, that's a bit much. But the master just argues that they're the only ones of their kind here. Logan counters with 500 gold each, a price way higher than a healthy slave. More than enough, but the master tries to bargain anyway. He claims that at that price, he won't even recover his initial investment. And here's where Logan snaps, asking if he looks stupid enough not to know slave prices. The master literally wets himself, thinking Victor is just nothing but trouble. He's sure the kid will cause more problems later, so he quickly accepts Logan's offer. Kaiselin carries the injured boy on his back, impressed by his recovery. He says the wound should never have allowed him to get up so quickly. Logan just plays it cool, saying the kid healed up fast, easy peasy. But the reality is, he was secretly channeling his own energy to heal the boy. A power greater than the magic of most low-level priests. But he gets a little annoyed, realizing the boy might have actually detected his aura. Something not even Kaiselin could feel, he just brushes it off as a coincidence. Suddenly, Victor jumps off Kaiselin's back and tries to attack Logan. And yeah, he doesn't even come close. Watch as Logan snatches him up by the neck. He asks him if he's brave or just plain stupid for trying a stunt like that. Does he really understand the situation he's just put himself in? And does Logan look as weak as that worthless slave trader? He says it's great that Victor has fighting spirit, but he needs to learn. Learn to choose his opponents better, and this is his last and only warning. Logan continues, saying if he obeys, he will guarantee his and his little sister's safety. But if something like this happens again, he will get rid of them both. He lets the boy go, figuring that was enough, and then drops an absolute bombshell. I know what you're thinking, because Victor's reaction is the same, utter disbelief. Logan plans to raise him as a knight, explaining that knights are honorary nobles. This means he could naturally escape his slave status, and not just him. His sister, too. Hearing that, Victor looks over at his sister. He promises he will do whatever it takes. Logan sees his assumption was right. The sister is the key to controlling the violent nature of this noble slayer. He tells them their training starts the moment they get home. Then he calls Hammer the dwarf over for a quick word. Logan says he's going to draft a magical contract with a very specific offer. If Hammer works for him for the next 20 years, he will send him back to the mountains. Hammer is stunned, unable to believe Logan would really send him back to his people. Our main character keeps going. It's hard to trust a promise that's just words. He asks if there's a problem or if Hammer doesn't want to go through with it. Hammer gratefully says he wants it with all his heart and will do anything he asks. He keeps thanking him, still in shock that Logan would offer him this chance. Seeing the dwarf's reaction, Logan thinks to himself, if a simple contract is all it takes to motivate him this much, then he's the one getting the better deal here. And he admits to himself he got everything he could have possibly wanted. He got everything from this adventure and even more than he bargained for. Especially now that he has the infamous noble slayer on his side. Trust me, from Logan's perspective, the war preparations are going perfectly. But at that moment, he had no idea that rumors about his strange behavior had spread. Word had already spread across the entire estate that his reputation was in the gutter and sinking fast, leaving Rick drowning in total confusion. He's trying to fix things, wondering, what in the world is Logan doing? And soon after, Logan returns, and let me tell you, no one is happier to see him than Rick. Our guy looks at Rick and casually asks how he's been, Rick just stares back. He asks Logan if he's seriously asking a question like that right now. Nearly having a heart attack, he demands to know what Logan's been up to while he was away. He asks if he's heard the insane rumors calling him a twisted monster who blows 150,000 on useless monster meat. It turns out just a few days earlier, Philip had gathered every merchant he could find, declaring he wanted to buy monster meat in the name of the young master, Logan McLean. Apparently, even before all this, people were already gossiping about Logan, how his engagement was called off, and how he basically ripped off his own fiancée. Philip then started some bizarre rumors himself about the monster meat just to attract more sellers. He had no idea his new master had such a wild past. He just thought he was some random rich guy. Philip, however, saw a golden opportunity in all this chaos and dropped the price of monster meat as low as he possibly could, while making sure the merchants would still chase after the deal. The price, 1 gold piece per kilogram. He figured no merchant would ever refuse to sell literal garbage to a guy paying good money for it. He even added that if they wanted to get rich, they should bring every scrap of monster meat they could find. And Philip's aggressive marketing plan worked like a charm. Merchants scrambled for monster meat, and the rumors about Logan exploded through pretty much the entire city's underbelly. Hearing all this, Logan just comments that Philip did his job perfectly. Rick is absolutely stunned. He can't believe Logan is laughing at a time like this. But Logan just continues, telling him to take a good look at the faces of the men who came with him. He asks him to imagine just how many rumors they must have heard to look so terrified. To all this, our hero simply says not to worry, because this whole mess will be over soon enough. But Rick warns him not to be so cocky. His next stop is the patriarch. And you and I both know he is absolutely furious. Inside his father's office, Patrick asks Logan if he enjoyed his little trip running away from home. "It was a worthwhile trip," Logan replied. Patrick continues, saying he's heard some nasty rumors and that he's been up to some crazy things, but at least he's admitting it was worth it. The young man defends himself, saying rumors are just that, senseless lies, and that he doesn't regret a single thing he's done. His stepmother then chimes in, telling Patrick that this is exactly what she was talking about. That Logan has no sense of his position and how his actions could disgrace the family name. But our guy doesn't even let her finish. Now here's the part I love. He cuts her off, saying she's exaggerating. After all, he just spent the money from his broken engagement however he wanted. Marion jumps back in, asking Patrick if he's listening to this. She asks if he's still going to take his son's side after everything. But Patrick roars that it's enough, then calmly asks her to leave. He wants to speak with Logan alone for a moment. Patrick warns Logan that this is the very last chance he's ever going to get. Logan looks terrified, standing there before his enraged father. Stick with me, because his dad leans in and asks just what is going on in his head. It's time for a serious talk about what's been happening. Logan thinks to himself, knowing his father is not gonna let this go this time. So he tells Patrick that he wouldn't get it, even if he tried to explain. Patrick fires back, asking Logan if maybe he's the one who refuses to be understood. And does Logan have any idea what people are saying? That he's violent, cruel, obsessed with money, basically a madman. He keeps going, asking how much longer he has to keep covering for him. When that day finally comes, he begs Logan to just let him know. That way, he can at least make the excuse that he tried his best, for the sake of Logan's dead mother. The young man is stunned. Patrick just mentioned his mother, something he never did in his past life, not even when he got kicked out. And maybe, just maybe, Patrick hasn't completely given up on him yet, so Logan asks his father for just 1 year. Give him 1 year, and he'll prove that there's a reason for everything he's doing. He begs him for this one last favor. Later, we see Patrick alone, replaying that whole conversation in his head, admitting how weird it sounds for a father and son to ask for favors. He thinks that if Logan can't prove himself in a year, then he'll have to make a choice, because before he's a father, he is the patriarch of the McLeans. A portrait of Logan's mother, Raina, comes into view. Patrick looks at it and apologizes, saying he has no idea what's going on with their son. He then starts a monologue, remembering his promise to protect him at all costs, to raise him right. But in the end, the whole thing fell apart because of his own negligence. Walking through the castle halls, Logan bumps into his younger brother, and what he sees is an absolute game changer. Ran has awakened his force. "How'd you know?" Ran asks. "You caught on pretty quick." The young man is thrilled, his little brother awakening his power at only 14 years old. He remembers that in his past life, Ran's power only showed up during the war between the clans. But this time, it happened so much faster. "It's all thanks to you," Ran says, leaving Logan totally confused. He explains that the knights were trying to stop him from going to find Logan when he got back, and that's when it happened. Apparently, he took down the knights who were in his way. Logan just starts laughing and tells Ran he did an amazing job. He thinks that if he teaches him the secrets of the divine sword once his power stabilizes, Ran could become way stronger than he ever was in the past. In a cabin south of the Mechlin estate, Logan meets up with Dwayne, who tells him the 35-rank C mercenaries he wanted are all here, but it looks like the mercs are pissed, wondering if this whole thing is just some kind of scam. It's been 10 days since they were called here, and so far not a single one of them has even met Logan. One of them scoffs that a minor baron's family wouldn't dare mess with a mercenary guild unless they were out of their minds. Another replies that you never know, the rumors about Logan have reached them too, and they are not pretty. Then they start mocking the young man's appearance, how he's carrying a sword and armor, just playing soldier. Listening to all this trash talk, Logan knows what he has to do. You can't reason with guys like this, you have to show them who's in charge, so let's watch how he puts them in their place. Logan confronts one of the mercenaries, asking if he thinks wearing armor and a sword is a joke. The guy plays dumb, saying he doesn't know what Logan means. He's stunned. Logan could have possibly heard him from all the way over there. Our main character starts mocking him right back, saying he can think that way, but only if he has the talent to back it up. He says the guy is nothing more than an insignificant C-class mercenary and asks what imaginary skills he thinks he has that give him the right to look down on others. Then, dripping with sarcasm, he asks if he's offended him, admitting that even a low-tier merc like him has pride. He tells him to come closer and settle it. Then Logan lays down a challenge. If the guy can land a single blow on him, he'll let him walk away right then. And there, not only that, he'll pay him a full year's salary, sealing the promise. With his honor as a noble on the line, declaring everyone there a witness. The mercenary steps up, grinning. This is perfect for him since Logan can't go back on his word now. He gives Logan a hard stare, trying to intimidate him. But with that gorilla face, not a chance. The crowd starts whispering. They're commenting on the mercenary's massive size, wondering if he's actually a B rank. Another guy replies not yet, but he probably will be after this job is over. Hearing this, Logan scoffs. He realizes that's the source of the merc's confidence. The mercenary tells Logan to attack first, and he replies, saying the other guy is going to regret that, but the mercenary ignores him. He boasts that he's been swinging a sword for much longer, so he doesn't need to worry. He even asks if Logan needs an advantage. You're going to want to see this. Logan focuses his force and smashes a punch right into the guy's face. Everyone freezes. They are speechless at the power of the blow, and it seems Logan ended the duel right there, with the man stretched out on the ground and his teeth flying through the air. The other mercs look on in disbelief, while Logan simply stretches his shoulder, scoffs, and asks if anyone else feels like running their mouth. The mercenaries can't believe it, a kid his age, already a master of force. They think it's absurd. Kaizelin watches him, thinking he always knew he was different. but he never imagined Logan was this good. The young man continues, saying that from now on, no one else will be making any comments. After that, he formally introduces himself as Logan M. Lan, the one responsible for summoning them. He goes on, saying many of them are probably wondering why he's here. Why is he spending so much money hiring mercenaries? He then explains. He wants to train them all to become crossbow knights. Dwayne and Kaiselin are stunned. The mercenaries have no idea what to make of this idea, and honestly, can you blame them? One of them even mutters they'd spend the whole time just trying to reload. Kaiselin whispers to Logan that crossbows aren't exactly efficient weapons for knights. But Logan just replies that he already knows that. So Kaiselin asks the obvious question, why would he want them to use crossbows if he knows? Logan explains that crossbows are way more destructive than regular bows. But for an inexperienced shooter, it can take more than a minute just to load. While on a horse, you would be out of firepower in a minute, even. Carrying 3 or 4 preloaded crossbows, it's no wonder they're all so confused. Logan tells Kaiselin he knows it looks like he's just wasting money, but trust me, his plan is pure genius. As a soldier, he knows he needs to train them properly, and he'll find out why soon enough. And his final point, this new crossbow cavalry will be an absolute game changer. Not just for this war, but for the entire future of Emlan. Kaiselin is stunned silent. He doesn't get it, but he accepts his master's request a few days later. Logan's in his room, looking over the numbers from the 350 mercenaries hired. Out of all of them, only 312 passed the simple qualification test. He thinks that's good enough, but then an interruption, it's Hammer. Logan explains that it's a schematic for the new crossbow he wants him to build. Now stick with me, because you're about to watch a piece of future tech get invented. He admits that to a professional's eye, the design is probably a little crude. Inside his head, he's thinking about how this was a weapon he used for decades in his past life. He drew every last detail he could remember, and since Hammer is a master craftsman, he should be able to build it no problem. Hammer, however, disagrees completely. He's supposed to add a cartridge that holds bolts on the back and make it reload automatically. On top of that, it has to fire 3 shots in a row. He asks, who in their right mind came up with such a stupid idea? Logan just points to himself. And yeah, Hammer is not amused. He says it's a wonderful concept, but a string twisted in a structure like that is never going to hold. It'll just snap. Besides, you and I can both see a wooden box like that on the back is going to be incredibly uncomfortable for the person shooting it. So what's the plan? Logan just smirks and replies, that's not my problem. You're the master craftsman, you figure it out. The dwarf's face, pure rage. Logan immediately backtracks, claiming it was just a joke, and explains they need to reduce the size of the bolt to shrink the cartridge itself. He agrees with Hammer. It'll have to be single shot, but then he drops the real idea, pre-made cartridges. They'll reload using these pre-made loaders, which he calls magazines for short. And just like that, Hammer is absolutely dumbfounded. He says that even for a master shooter, a crossbow can't even fire 2 shots in under a minute. This thing would be a weapon from a completely different time. Logan just thinks, because it is. It's literally a weapon from the future. Hammer then tells Logan that most people think all you need to make something revolutionary is a spring, some wood, glue, and a bowstring. But for him, this is an incredible challenge. He says he'll give it a shot. Hearing that, Logan immediately asks when it will be ready. Hammer is floored. Is Logan really asking him to build something never before seen? Something nobody has ever even heard of, and he wants a deadline. Logan just doubles down, saying that it's still a weapon that humans have made. Hammer is completely lost, asking where and who made it. Logan just blows him off. He tells him he doesn't need to know and goes straight for the pride. If you don't think you can do it, you might as well just give up now. Hammer explodes. He says he just needs 1 month and he'll build something far superior. Seeing this play out, Logan is thrilled. And that, my friends, is what happens when you challenge a dwarf's ego. Later, out on the castle training grounds, we catch up with Victor. He's running, but Logan is on him, telling him he's slowing down again. So Victor grits his teeth and pushes himself to speed up once more. Logan thinks to himself that he's only fed and rested the boy for days, but he still can't believe the results. Made, he just tells Victor to get some rest. And at that, the kid's little sister rushes over to him. Logan couldn't help but think he'd made one hell of an investment. Buying Victor was a gamble, but a 14-year-old boy, way smaller than his peers, had just run 20 kilometers without a break. That's some serious talent, but what really stood out was the kid's sheer grit. This boy had a spirit that refused to break, and he worried about absolutely nothing. It was clear to Logan this kid wasn't born to be a simple noble slayer. This massive change in him, it was probably all because of his sister. Shaking off the thought, Logan calls out that the break's over. It's time for round 2. He tosses a sword straight into Victor's hands and declares that from this moment on, they'd be learning the Kingdom of Grandia's official sword style. The very same technique every single aspiring knight in the country has to master. With that, the instructor tells Victor to watch closely as he demonstrates. The young man gripped the sword tight, slicing through the air with practiced force. Victor, however, looked completely unimpressed. Honestly, all he wanted to do was pass out and sleep. Even so, he bit his lip, thinking if the price for a good meal and a warm bed was pure exhaustion, then he'd pay it, whatever it took. So he gripped his sword, just like Logan had done, and swung, a perfect cut through the air. Watching him, Logan realized his own demonstration was flawless, and Victor's strike was an exact copy. Not just the motion, but every single breath, and now here's where it gets absolutely insane. He'd only seen it once. Logan is just floored, watching how easily the boy is keeping up with him. He mutters that not even Ran was this good, and they're the exact same age. Seeing this, Logan tells Victor that if he can build his stamina and nail that sword technique perfectly over 1,000 times in a row, he can officially call himself a knight. Hearing that, Victor's eyes practically sparkle as he imagines himself in that armor. Logan then asks if he thinks he can do it, and the kid just beams, yes. So Logan continues, telling Victor that if he needs anything else for his training, he should just ask Rick. He could probably handle most requests, but Victor just says he doesn't need a thing. Logan presses him, asking if he's sure, and Victor's answer is simple. His only request, just take care of his sister. That's all he needs. Let that sink in. That's perfect, Logan thinks. As he trains Victor, he knows the boy isn't ready for a real war just yet. But he's going to be a huge asset to Emlan down the line. He also figures that both the new mercenary corps and the weapon Hammer is building will become an unstoppable force together. Still, he knows he shouldn't get ahead of himself. After all, Hammer might not even be able to make a decent crossbow. And even if he does, the mercenaries might not know how to use it. Since he put all his eggs in one basket, he knew he needed a backup plan. With that settled, Logan heads straight for his father's office with a request. He wanted to join the Knights' training, and it looks like his father actually agreed. Out on the training field that night, Captain Hankley introduced Logan to the rest of the Knights, announcing he'd be joining them from now on. And trust me, the Knights did not take this news well at all. They immediately started whispering to each other, thinking Logan must see the knightly order as some kind of joke, especially after he wiped the floor with Dominion. A memory of the captain flashes through his mind. He's back in the Patriarch's chambers, where they were just discussing the idea of letting the young master join the order. The captain did not look happy. In fact, Hankley warned Patrick that if he joined, the other knights would not be happy. But Patrick shot back, saying he wasn't asking for any special treatment. He actually told them to be even tougher on him than any other rookie. Back in the present, Hankley thinks that even so, Patrick is still the Lord's son, and it would be easier if he had just asked for Logan to be treated with a little kindness. Logan sees the captain's worried look and tells him not to sweat it. He promises that if he messes up at all during the night training this week, he'll just vanish without a word, but you and I both know this kid is playing a different game. The captain is surprised by his attitude, but reluctantly agrees. Hearing this, he decides that for the next week, the night training will be 3 times harder than usual. A moment later, a knight is carrying his buddy on his back, wondering what kind of fresh hell this training is. The instructor screams at his men not to die, reminding them that as cavalry knights, they can't forget what it feels like to be a horse. He orders them to feel what it is like to be the steed carrying them across the battlefield in full, heavy armor. Though knights finally get it, this is why they've been training in full armor. And they all know who to blame for this insane new routine, that damned troublemaker. They start betting on how long Logan will last, a day, 2, maybe 3. But stick with me, because what Logan does next is absolutely legendary. He's sprinting at full speed, blasting through the pack and leaving everyone totally speechless, even the captain. And the craziest part, the kid is smiling while doing it. Hankley is furious, thinking that at this rate, the knights would collapse long before Logan ever would. With that, he yells for everyone to stop and take a 10-minute break. Then he walks over to ask the young man how he's holding up. He was thinking the kid had to be tired after that insane run. It was obviously exhausting, and all he needed was an honest answer to get out of this ridiculous training. But before he could even finish, Logan cuts him off, saying it was a piece of cake. Hankley is absolutely floored. He asks what he means, and Logan just says it was fantastic training. If the knights do this every single day, there's no way they won't be the strongest. Then he tells Hankley he's already excited for the next training session. Meanwhile, 2 guys are collapsed on the ground, looking like they're about to quit for good. Yeah, I don't think that was part of Hankley's plan, do you? Later that night, our guy looks around and realizes he is completely alone on the training field. All the other knights must have already gone home. He starts thinking to himself, realizing this night training is his ultimate insurance policy in case his other plans completely fail. If that happens, he'll just join the knights and fight on the front lines. So it's smart to start connecting with them now and building some bonds. Another reason he is doing this is for his force, since he can already develop it through meditation. But just as important is training his physical body. That is where the knightly order comes in. And just as he expected, as his force core grows, he feels 0 fatigue. The young man takes out his sword and with one swift motion unleashes a powerful force slash. He thinks about how he has all this strength and it's all coming from just a 1-star core. He imagines that at 2 stars, he'll finally have the power to rival a high-ranking knight like his own father. The next morning, he tests the crossbows, dismissing them as failures, and asks Hammer if this is all he can do. Now watch how our guy asks about the custom string he ordered, saying this thing only fires once, and he doesn't see the magazine either. He tells Hammer it all needs to be integrated. The dwarf is furious, and Logan just keeps going, faking an apology and saying he was too harsh. Hammer replies that he's right. Even as his master, he has no right to insult a craftsman's pride. But what Logan really means is that if this is Hammer's absolute best, then there's nothing more to be done, which makes the dwarf almost explode with pure rage. Logan keeps pushing, saying maybe he just expected too much, since it's been weeks of work and there's nothing to show for it. And this right here, this is where Logan makes his big gamble. He starts provoking Hammer, claiming he misjudged him, that he made a mistake and wasted his money. That was the final trigger. Hammer demands 1 more month, guaranteeing he'll come back with something worthy of the investment. Absolutely furious, he smashes the prototype in his hands. Logan just watches Hammer storm off, thinking about that burning rage and how it'll force him to start from scratch. A cruel smile spreads across his face, wondering what masterpiece Hammer could create if he was pushed even further. A month later, on one of the training fields, Hammer is back to demonstrate his new and improved crossbow. And trust me, it fires 2 arrows at once. The invention leaves Logan completely speechless. Hammer comments that even with one less shot than Logan originally asked for, this version is easier to hold and allows for swapping magazines. Logan, though, is just blown away by the speed. Loading and firing took just 2 seconds. He figures it has a shorter range than the weapon from his past life, and it's a bit smaller. But for a mounted soldier, this is so much better, far exceeding his expectations. He can't believe they've come this far, with months still to go until the war with the thieves. Hammer asks if he's even listening. But Logan just lifts him up in celebration, shouting about what a great job he did and bragging about the dwarves. He wishes a long life to Hammer and his people. Hammer, however, is not nearly as happy. He's worried someone might see them and tells Logan he's not a child and that he wants to be put down. Logan looks him calmly in the eyes, preparing a question. And when Hammer asks what it is, our young man switches back to his psychotic self and says he needs 400 of these in 2 months. Next, Logan hands the crossbows to Kaizelin and the other mercenaries, and everyone is floored. The distance the bolt travels, the fact that it fires consecutive shots. Kaizelin stares at the invention, wondering how it's even possible. How could a crossbow even do something like that? A front loader with this kind of range, power, and speed. With this, an army of 300 mounted troops could do things that terrify him just to think about. So Kaizelin tells Logan that he's truly incredible. And you and I both realize this was the young man's plan from the very beginning. Logan just confirms he's right, thinking that Hammer went through hell. Even with extra help from the Craftsman's Guild, Logan never expected him to finish. The order is done 2 months ahead of schedule, with 100 extra crossbows. As you'd expect from a master dwarf, the quality is undeniable. This guy is a true artist. Logan considers arming the knights and soldiers, but money is a serious issue. Plus, there's always the risk of the technology getting leaked. Better to hold off for now. So Logan orders Kaizelin to equip the mercenaries with the new crossbows instead. Their mission is to clear out all the monsters from the territory's borders. Kaizelin thinks it's a crazy idea. But the young master is absolutely confident his men can handle it. In the end, Kaizelin admits it might be possible, but for Logan, maybe isn't good enough. He tells Kaizelin to just figure it out, because if he fails at this, then nothing else they're planning even matters. This gets Kaizelin thinking, you don't create a weapon this powerful just to fight monsters. You and I know what this means. He's preparing for war. Later, during one of the nightly training sessions, a knight remarks on Logan's incredible physical stamina. Another asks if that ridiculous physical strength is just genetic. A third knight replies that if he's anything like his father, his sword skills must be top tier. Then they start talking about Logan's duel against Dominion, but one of the warriors stops them. He tells the others not to even dare compare the young master to the old patriarch. Even before awakening his powers, Logan had already lost a fight to his own younger brother. But still, it's damn impressive how he's managed to keep up with this training for over a month. This whole regimen, which was originally designed to make him quit, has now become the new symbol of the entire Knight Order. It's exhausting, but way more rewarding than just running around in circles. This feels like the right kind of challenge. It was the perfect level of training needed for a true member of the Order. It even served as an unexpected wake-up call for the low-ranking knights who'd been slacking off. On top of that, the knights began to truly understand and bond with their horses. The connection between rider and mount grew stronger than ever before. Hankley couldn't believe it. He only insisted on the training because he thought the young master would give up. He never, ever expected to see results like this. His personal lucky charm had just walked right up to him. Later that night, Logan reflects on how he pushed his body to the absolute limit. Now, after all that training, he stimulates his inner consciousness through meditation. The two practices were working in perfect synergy, and he was finally making real progress. For a while now, he'd been noticing the signs of a major change in his internal force. If he could enhance his martial powers as he hoped, he could surpass every monster from his past life. And that's when it happens, something totally unexpected. Watch this. Logan's core begins to grow. He starts muttering as it suddenly evolves into a 2-star core. He realizes he now has the basics to learn the next secret technique. A skill from the secrets of the sword, known as Iron Cut, a truly murderous technique. Just thinking about the raw power the first technique gave him, he knew this one would be even more insane. The second technique would be stronger than he could possibly imagine. And if he masters this before the war begins, not even a high-ranking knight will be a threat to him. Elsewhere, Kaisalin and the mercenaries are out hunting a pack of goblins. His soldiers fire the new crossbows, dropping the goblins in an instant. One of the men comments on how there's almost no recoil on these things. He yells that his bolt went through one guy's head and still hit the one behind him. A swarm of over 100 monsters was completely decimated in less than 10 seconds. We just watched the mercenaries' old, basic fighting habits become totally obsolete. Tossed aside, these guys were way faster at changing magazines now. The young man thinks to himself that this hunt, deep in hostile territory, was totally worth it. Kaisalin asks if he's satisfied. More or less, Logan replies, a slight smirk on his face. And trust me, they've come a long way from the mess they were on their first monster hunt. After that, Kaisalin asks Logan why he's gearing up so heavily. He's never even heard of a mercenary group with this much firepower. He jokingly asks if Logan plans on wiping out every monster on the entire continent. But Logan doesn't even get a chance to answer before a knight on horseback comes galloping in with a critical message from Rick. It seems the day before, Viscount Tesserin officially declared war on House McLean. In the war room, Patrick in the other house heads watch through a crystal ball as Viscount Tesserin makes his declaration. Citing some ancient grudge over an ancestor he claims was unjustly killed. He's blaming House McLean, and Patrick is floored. The other nobles just look at each other, wondering if that flimsy excuse is enough to start a war. Henkel and Marion immediately press Patrick for his next move. Henkel points out that Tesserin's knightly order alone outnumbers their forces significantly. Even with Patrick on the battlefield, their odds of winning are dangerously slim. That's when one of the nobles suggests they just defend the city and call for backup. But everyone knows that's a terrible idea. If they do that, the enemy knights will take full advantage, and the entire city will be plunged into chaos. And as another man suggests sending a diplomat to sue for peace, Patrick explodes. He roars for everyone to shut up. He lays it out for them, even though the royal family's power has faded. These guys didn't even bother asking for permission to declare war. It's crystal clear they've planned this. So yeah, you and I both know peace is completely off the table. He orders everyone to prepare for war and tells his generals to bring him a winning strategy, saying he will not tolerate a single word of dissent. After all that, in the middle of this tense atmosphere, a random noble asks if the young Master Logan will also be joining the fight. Patrick confirms it. Marion adds that Rainian's forces are ready, and he's old enough to do his duty as well. Hearing all this, Rick realizes Logan isn't at the castle and scrambles to send a messenger. As soon as Logan gets the news, he's confused. Based on his past life, this war wasn't supposed to happen for another 2 months. He wonders what could have possibly changed the timeline. The messenger urges him to hurry, warning that the Viscount is breaking all the rules and attacking immediately after his declaration. Logan needs to move now if he wants to even make it to the front lines in time. But Kaisalin and the others just shout that Logan's mercenaries are ready to go at a moment's notice. Seeing this, Logan notes that Kaisalin doesn't seem surprised at all. Kaisalin just grins, saying that for a mercenary, if there's no war, you find a way to start one. He adds that they just got their hands on some amazing new weapons, so of course they're itching to use them. The young man looks at his army and thinks they might be a little too confident. But he doesn't worry too much. He gets it. That feeling is earned. They train like demons these last few months and absolutely annihilated monster hordes. He says it doesn't matter when the war starts, and honestly, we can't wait to see them in action. Because all they have to do is win. He's convinced they have enough combat power. And so he orders his army to march on the Mechlin plains. Absolutely certain this war will end in his victory, but back in the barony, you and I are about to see the war start much sooner. The day after war was declared, Tesserin's forces appeared on Mechlin land. And their numbers were far greater than anyone could have imagined. Captain Henkel informs Patrick that the Viscount's army is massive. 100 knights, over 1,000 regular soldiers, and almost 10,000 conscripts. He tells the Patriarch this is an all-out war. Hearing this, Patrick thinks Tesserin has completely lost his mind. He's not just facing knights, who are basically superhuman to normal folk. He's also using conscripts in what should be a simple feudal dispute. This wasn't even a war between nations, just a domestic squabble. Patrick has to wonder why the Viscount is pushing this far, and then things get even worse. The captain informs him that the House of Curas has given them a warning. They will not be sending any troops. Now pay attention, this is the moment everything crumbles. Mary argues it's impossible, that it must be a terrible mistake. She remembers checking everything with Mr. Duane personally. Everything was supposed to be set so this wouldn't happen. With no other choice, Patrick orders Henkel to gather every man who can hold a weapon. He says they will meet this attack with their full strength. Patrick can't believe that Curas, the house they trusted completely, has turned its back on them in their darkest hour. Emlan gathers every fighter he can. Assembling 53 knights, 552 soldiers, and 4,418 conscripts, for 5,023 men in total. But this entire force isn't even half the size of Tesserin's invading army. On the battlefield, two soldiers are chatting, one asking where the young Master Logan is. The other says he's been gone a long time and still hasn't returned. Some soldiers mutter that he probably ran away, that he fled as soon as he heard the news. Hearing this, Ran whips around, furious. He demands to know what they're saying. There is no way Logan would do that. He's certain Logan saw this war coming from a mile away. It's the whole reason he taught him that secret technique. There was no chance he'd run, but other soldiers hear him and the doubt spreads. I know what you're thinking. The rumors about the Lord's son deserting are starting to sound true to them. Just then, Patrick appears beside Ran. He tells his youngest son to take his brother's place on the battlefield and orders him not to waver. He thinks to himself that he doesn't want to believe the rumors either, but it doesn't matter now. All that matters is winning this war. He commands his entire army to advance and crush the scum that dares to attack their home. Across the field, Tesserin appears with a smirk, thinking Patrick has finally drawn his sword. He shouts that his knights are his blade and tells Patrick to face them. The young man charges his attack with aura, trying to break through the vanguard. But he fails. A knight with a massive shield blocks his attack, leaving Patrick stunned. Rick is also on the battlefield, and he does not look happy at all. All around him, he's watching people get killed, torn apart right before his eyes. The young man knows they are losing, and watching this, you and I are forced to ask how they were ever supposed to win. Sending grunts like him to die is just a waste of bodies. They'd lose anyway if they got surrounded. Just then he gets blindsided, a Tesserin soldier swinging down for the final blow. But our guy dodges just in time as an ally saves him, taking down the enemy and yelling at him to grab his spear. Rick reaches out his hand, grabbing his saviors, trying to thank him for the save. But before he can even speak, an enemy knight cuts his comrade down. Splattering blood all over Rick's face, he gets it now. His only shot is to run. Run as far away from the front lines as he possibly can. But suddenly, cavalry thunders towards him, as he scrambles past the bodies of friends and foes. Rick realizes they've been pincered, completely surrounded from the back. This is it. This is the place where they all die. All right, let's switch scenes, because you need to meet this absolute beast. Patrick's opponent admits he lives up to his legendary name. They'd prepared, but even then, Patrick was way more than they bargained for. The man couldn't believe it. How did this guy tank his deadliest attacks packed with explosive force? He was shocked to see Tesserin had a high-ranking knight on the field. Patrick kept analyzing, figuring the other knights had to be at least mid-tier. Is that why they weren't scared of him? He asks them, so you're the special unit they prepared just for me. The enemy knight just smirks, asking what he thinks of their preparations. Surrounded by 4 knights. The young warrior knew that if he got pinned down here, the entire situation would fall apart. The whole order of knights would be next, so he grips his sword and charges, roaring that it will never happen. The young man's blade clashes with the high-ranking knights, but he's ambushed from behind by a spear. He barely manages to dodge. Seeing them swarm him from all sides, Patrick screams, asking if they have any honor. Calling them bastards for their dirty tactics. I mean, we all know there's no honor in a dog pile. They couldn't care less. One of them even says this is his last battle anyway, so they should just let him die in peace. Once again, the warrior charges with everything he's got, his sword screaming against his opponents. But this time he wasn't so lucky. A spear digs deep into his side, a devastatingly deep wound. He realizes the high-ranking knight just blocks him, while the others jump in for the kill, a perfect, inescapable trap. And since the enemy flanked him so perfectly, he figures Logan did the right thing by running away. Facing his own defeat, he just hopes Logan can carry on their family's legacy. From a distance, the tyrant watches the battle between Patrick and the knights unfold. He gloats, thinking it was a genius move to keep his high-rank knight a secret. Now all he needs to do is finish Patrick, and Emlan Castle is his. But as he's about to give the order, he hears a strange noise from the rear. Trust me, you're gonna wanna hear this. A soldier rushes in, reporting a cavalry unit approaching, about 300 of them, maybe even more. Tesserin freezes for a second, asking if the McLeans had other hidden troops they didn't know about. The soldier could only say, "It's strange." The knights closing in weren't even carrying lances. Their only weapons were small crossbows. Hearing this, Lord Tesserin just laughed out loud. He mockingly asked if they meant those little toys hunters use, then ordered his men to gather the rear guard and archers to get rid of them, calling them a bunch of fifth-rate soldiers. Then, mid-sentence, an arrow pierces clean through his soldier's head. Tesserin freezes, and yep, it seems Logan has joined the party. He is absolutely furious seeing what's happening. He gives his mercenaries the order to fire. A storm of bolts rains down on Tesserin's army. The projectiles tear straight through the knights, decimating hundreds in seconds and ripping through shields and flesh. One soldier thinks about how anyone who didn't raise their shield was already dead, and that he would have been one of them if he was a second too late. Tesserin's archers get ready to fire back, but their arrows just fall short, their bows too weak to reach Logan's troops. The mercenaries fire again, dropping even more of the Viscount's soldiers. Watching the chaos unfold, you can almost feel Tesserin wondering how this is even happening. His rear guard was wiped out in mere seconds. And Logan's mercenaries weren't even using magic, just those insane crossbows. He wondered what kind of monster weapon Patrick had actually created. He screams at his knights, ordering them all to the rear to take down those bastards. The cavalry charges at full speed towards Logan's troops, and Logan just smiles. He's happy to see them coming right to him. Meanwhile, a fight is breaking out between Ran and another knight. Ran dodges an attack, and his enemy taunts him, saying he did a good job. As the soldiers clash, one tells his comrade to stop messing around with the kid because the fight is getting serious. But the other replies that he's doing his best and that Ran, even though he's just a boy, is not to be underestimated. Hearing that exchange, something clicks for Ran. This is where it gets deep. We're watching him realize this isn't training, it's a real battle. He wasn't some prodigy, just a simple boy who had awakened his powers. Still, he couldn't lose here. Way too much was at stake. He thinks of his father and how he was counting on him to pull Logan's weight in this war, too. He told himself he could not afford to falter now. As he was lost in thought, an opening appeared, and Ran immediately noticed it. He saw one of the soldiers with his back turned and wondered what on earth he was doing. But whatever the reason, this was a chance he couldn't miss. He draws his sword and in one clean strike, cleaves right through the soldier's body. It was so easy, even he was surprised. He then notices the bolt stuck in the enemy's chest and looking up, is overjoyed to see his brother, who's shouting his name loud and clear. However, that joy lasts only for a moment. Other knights are charging furiously from behind him, straight for Logan's position, following the Viscount's orders. Logan observes the kite shield formation the cavalry had adopted. Noting it was an impressive defense, but it wasn't going to stop him. His brutal plan was about to unfold. The young man instructs his soldiers to aim their crossbows diagonally at the ground, which made them question his sanity all over again. That's when he flashes a psychotic smile and orders the mercenaries to shoot the horses. And there it is. You and I just saw this warrior use every dirty trick to win. At his command, the mercenaries grinned, their bloodlust a perfect match for Logan's. A hail of bolts rained down on the cavalry's horses, bringing all the soldiers crashing hard to the ground. Logan figured he'd made it just in time to help Ran, but his father was still in terrible danger. He remembered his oath to save his family in this life. Winning the battle meant nothing if he lost them. He shouts an order to Kaisalin and rushes straight towards his father. Kaisalin yells that this was never the plan, completely freaking out about what could happen. He knew victory was right there in their grasp, and wondered why Logan would risk everything like that, no matter how much stronger he'd gotten. Running headfirst into a mid-rank knight could turn the tables instantly. Finally, Kaisalin snaps into action, ordering Gerald to provide cover for Logan's advance. Now Patrick was still fighting the high-rank knight, and trust me, he was in deep trouble. The knight taunts him, saying he can't believe Patrick actually charged forward, knowing he was just going to be skewered. But at the very last second, Patrick manages to dodge and jump back, buying a moment. That's when he notices something strange about the way the enemies are fighting. They were all pushing past their limits, practically throwing their lives away. Patrick wondered why they were acting so desperate when they clearly had the advantage. Once again, he barely parries two lances that came lunging at him a second later. Suddenly, Logan lands right in front of his father, taking out two mid-level soldiers in the blink of an eye, leaving Patrick absolutely speechless. He remembered seeing Logan show up with mercenaries far behind the enemy lines. But that was nowhere near where they were now. As he turned, he wondered how Logan even got here. And what he saw behind his son, it left him utterly shocked. Behind him was a path paved with corpses. Had his son really done all of this? Patrick wanted to demand how he'd gotten so strong. But he knew this wasn't the right time, and honestly, none of this was making any sense. Instead, he asks if Logan's presence means the tide has turned. His son just nods. Hearing this, Patrick puts a hand on the young man's shoulder and says, "You did a good job." The high-rank knight just stares at Logan, trying to process what he'd just seen. How could some 20-year-old kid from the countryside just erase two mid-level knights at the exact same time? He remembered working himself to death at that age just to become a knight, but that didn't matter now. He was going to kill this kid right here and now. He then orders his fallen men to get back into formation. After seeing that, Patrick thought that Logan was now strong enough to handle most mid-level knights. He might not be high rank, but he was close. If the young man took on the grunts while he focused on their leader, they might actually win. But that's not what happened. Logan puts his arm out, shielding his father. He announces that he will face the night alone, and here, my friends, is where it all goes down. Patrick immediately tries to talk him out of it, saying it was too dangerous. He knew his son had grown, but this was a high-rank knight we're talking about. Patrick doesn't even finish his sentence before Logan punches him in the stomach, knocking him down. The young man says that in his current state, even he could beat his father. He tells his father to trust him and to leave this fight to him. Reluctantly, Patrick agrees. He tells Logan to be careful, but the boy just says they need to be quick. The high-rank knight is shocked to see Logan charging right at him, not Patrick. And you can see the rage on his face. How dare a brat like this even try? The warrior explodes across the battlefield, channeling his power for the first strike. Their swords slam together, pushing his opponent back several meters with just one attack. The knight is completely stunned. He's wondering how any of this is even possible. Even with his injuries, he didn't sense any overwhelming power or high level from Logan. But the fact that he was being overpowered could only mean one thing. Logan was burning through his own life force. As he readies another attack, he thinks none of this is adding up. He lunges, his eyes filled with killing intent. They weave back and forth, a blur of motion as they dodge each other's blows. With their blades locked again, the knight thinks that if he wasn't injured, he'd have the upper hand. He'd kill this kid easily, but as he's thinking this, the young man sees an opening. Now watch this, he lands a perfect cut, wounding his opponent in an instant. He leaps back immediately to dodge the incoming counterattack. Observing the scene, he thinks there isn't a single opening. He has to create a gap to exploit. It seems he noticed something that Logan also realized. The force of his sword was being absorbed by his opponent, who thinks this is his chance. He fell right into his trap. He winds up to strike the young man, and it looks like the blow will land this time, since Logan has lost his balance. But that's not what happened. In a flash, Logan is back on his feet, leaving the knight wondering if he's getting slow. Logan begins charging his aura once more, preparing to unleash his sacred technique. Seeing this, the knight knows he has to get out of there. Yeah, you and I both know it's way too late for that. Logan unleashes a devastating cutting wave of energy, eliminating his enemy on the spot. Everyone nearby is left speechless at the sheer power they just witnessed. He then roars that he, Logan McLean, has killed the enemy general of Tesserin's army. Hearing this, Tesserin's soldiers are terrified, wondering how a knight of that rank could fall. Since they couldn't even see their own Viscount's flag anymore, they began dropping their swords, asking to be taken as prisoners of war. Rick starts chanting Logan's name, wishing his master long life and victory. And one by one, everyone else joins in the chant. The Viscount, however, is fleeing. He's trying to figure out where it all went so wrong on the battlefield. He just can't understand how his 3 years of careful preparation ended in nothing. He had asked other nobles for help, gathered 100 knights. And that damn redhead with his men and his strange weapons ruined everything he had built. Thinking fast, he decides he just needs to get back to his own territory first. That way, at the very least, he'll be able to get out of this alive. Upon reaching his castle, he screams at the guards to open the main gates. They're shocked to see him, but then another guard spots something in the distance. He warns that knights are approaching fast, with Logan at the front. Tesserin is petrified. Logan dismounts and tells the Viscount he's pretty quick on his feet for a runner. Standing before the massive castle gates, he shouts for everyone inside to hear. He declares that Tesserin has officially lost the war. The young man then orders the garrison to open the gates and welcome the conflict's true and only winner. From the walls above, the soldiers wonder if it's true, and that's where we leave it, a castle on the brink. Viscount had returned in a frantic rush, but a general suddenly roared at his men. Was a little trash talk from the enemy really enough to make them cower? Snapping out of their fear, the general reminded them there were barely 300 enemies. And as Logan flared his aura once more, he declared they couldn't possibly be beaten. Not in a siege and not by such a pathetic force. The gate guards just stared. What in the world was this guy doing? Then Logan simply leaped over the wall. A wall dozens of meters high, telling the general to open the gates, unless everyone inside wanted a death wish, because he would kill them himself. Now inside the palace, Tesserin was scrambling to grab his most valuable treasures. He figured he should at least escape with a few bags of gold coins. But suddenly a voice from behind him shouts his name. Logan had finally caught him. Stumbling backward, Tesserin demands to know how he got inside. Logan just smirks, saying his own servants gave him up without a single threat. Apparently, that says a lot about the kind of lord this spineless coward really is. Tesserin is furious. How could his own people betray him like that? But his anger quickly melts back into pure cowardice. He tells Logan he surrenders. He'll pay reparations, his share of the spoils, everything by the book. He just begs him, please, spare his life and his family. Logan just scoffs. You want to talk about the book now, really? He looks down on the man, reminding him he has zero right to talk about rules. Not after declaring a surprise war and steamrolling everything in a single day. A vein bulges on Logan's forehead. He's furious, asking if Tesserin has any shame at all. But Tesserin keeps pleading, trying to appeal to the honor of the nobility. He claims that the official conventions of war protect all prisoners. It's a rule that guarantees their lives will be spared. Logan seems to agree. He says he will respect the honor and customs of his own house. The great house of Emlan, therefore he will spare the man's life. And he'll even give him time to grab some of his wealth and leave. Tesserin starts to thank him, but Logan cuts him right off. Pay attention here. He says if his father, Patrick, were here, he would definitely do all that. His father is an honorable man, so honorable he'd accept an unconditional surrender. But then Logan's eyes drift to a diamond-encrusted dagger in a nearby chest. Picking it up, he casually comments on how beautiful it is. Tesserin immediately insists that the young man should keep it as a gift. Logan refuses and tells him no, you should take this dagger with you. Then in one swift, brutal motion, he plunges the blade deep into Tesserin's chest. The man takes his last breath, accusing Logan of being a liar. He promised to spare my life, he gasps. Logan's reply, cold as ice. I never said that. I said what my father would have done. Tough luck for you. I'm nothing like him. Tesserin tries to mumble something about honor. But Logan cuts him off again. Do you have any idea how many people died? How many died because of your greed? Now, end your filthy life right here. And just like that, Tesserin crumples to the floor, lifeless. Logan just stares at the body, thinking he should thank God for such a clean death. He clenches his bloody fist, and you and I know this is only the beginning. He figured the crisis was finally over, just needed to add the finishing touches. He announces loudly that Viscount Raymond Tesserin has taken his own life. Figuring that's the end of it, but just as he's done, Kaisalin enters the room and tells Logan he needs to see the castle's underground prison, and you just know something bad is down there. A few days later, outside Viscount Tesserin's castle walls, Logan and Patrick are talking. Patrick explains he rushed straight to the Tesserin castle the moment he recovered. He immediately asks about Raymond's so-called suicide. The young man confirms it. He says Lord Tesserin must have been in utter despair to do such a thing. But Patrick isn't buying it for a second and bluntly asks if Logan killed Tesserin. He gets right in his face for a tense stare-down, and yeah, you can cut the tension with a knife right here. It looks like they're about to throw down. Logan comes clean and confesses that yes. He eliminated Tesserin on purpose, arguing they needed to take matters into their own hands. He also tells his father that he couldn't just leave Tesserin's bloodline alive. They would only cause more problems in the future. Hearing this, Patrick looks at his son and praises him, saying he's become a man. And yeah, I bet you didn't see that coming. He says Logan surely had his reasons. He continues, telling him that no matter what anyone said, He was the key player in this entire battle, and he thanks him for it. Hearing this praise makes Logan so happy, and he looks at his father with a wide, sincere smile. "Good job, kid," Patrick says, actually blushing and stammering a bit, then tries to share more good news. He continues, telling his son that he's going to be named the official heir. The official heir of House McLean. Hearing this should make the young man ecstatic. But he just nods with a smile and tells his father that he's sorry, but he has to refuse. Patrick is baffled and asks why, and let's be real, we're all wondering why too. Was he worried about his reputation? Patrick quickly assures him that's not an issue. His achievements in this battle are more than enough to change the entire situation. But for Logan, that wasn't the reason at all, which leaves his father deep in thought. Logan continues his reasoning, explaining that Ran would be a much better fit. He's far more qualified, especially since the McLeans are a family of knights. He then points out that Ran became a Force user at only 14 years old. That's 4 years faster than him. It's impossible to predict what the boy will be capable of. By the time he reaches adulthood, leaving Patrick completely speechless. Still, he argues that even if all that's true, fighting ability isn't the only factor in becoming the lord of a house, but Logan thinks to himself, maybe that's the case. For now, but if Ran receives the title of the continent's youngest Force user, just like what happened in his previous life, there would be no problem at all. Most importantly, there's absolutely no advantage for Logan in becoming the successor. He has zero interest in wasting his time being the next Baron anyway. Logan tells Patrick that as the older brother, he just wants to give the younger one a chance. Therefore, he hopes his father will wait until Ran comes of age to choose. To finally pick his successor, Patrick replies that he never imagined. Logan cared so much about his brother and says he will grant his wish. The choice of an heir will be postponed. The decision will be made in about 5 years. When Ran becomes an adult, hearing this, Logan thanks his father, however. Patrick still plans on giving him another reward. They're going to return to the mansion to calculate the profits from the war, which are expected to be massive. Several 100,000 gold pieces, but it seems Logan already had something else in mind for his reward. Suddenly, a guard yells to open the gates. The Emlan Knights have returned. Now stick with me, because the whole town is about to erupt. They'd only been gone a week, and rumors said the war was over in a single day. A couple of guys start talking, one of them wondering how that was even possible. He asks if their knights had secretly been that strong all along. The other one leans in, asking if he's heard the stories, that it was all thanks to the young master, Logan Emlan. He goes on, saying soldiers who came back first claimed Logan's mercenaries, completely flipped the script on the battle. They just appeared behind the enemy lines, like they knew the future. Another guy chimes in that they wiped out the enemy with some kind of mysterious weapon, and that Logan even defeated a high-rank knight solo. A girl then asks if the master was always this amazing. Another local admits he just thought Logan was a screw-up until now. The citizens start putting it all together. Maybe he bought all that monster meat for a reason. Maybe this was his grand plan from the very beginning. The crowd starts whispering, what if the boy had been acting this whole time? And honestly, that idea gave them all chills. They praised him as a prodigy, saying geniuses are just built different now that he was a Force user. Logan overhears everything and is completely mortified to hear people talking about him like some kind of legend. Ran then asks how it feels to get so many compliments. Logan just says it's making him blush and tells his brother not to exaggerate. But Ran insists it's not an exaggeration. Since every word they said was true, he tells Logan to smile for the people since they're so happy to see him. Logan thinks about it, and seeing their excited faces, he decides to give it a shot. He flashes a killer smile. Or, okay, you and I both know that's the face of a man holding in a fart. Seriously, he looks like a constipated Medusa. As soon as everyone turns to see him smile, they freeze solid, thinking he's about to rip their heads off. The poor guy has no clue what he did wrong, and Ronian just pities him. Patrick turns to Logan, a look of genuine pride on his face. He then shouts for the next cheer to be for the champion of this war, announcing that the grand reception is about to begin. Long live Emlan, long live young Master Logan. A short while later, we see Logan walking through the castle gardens. He's just strolling through the courtyard, impressed that a welcome party could go on until morning, especially for soldiers fresh from a war. But the peace is shattered when his mother, Marion, yells at him from behind, demanding to know what he's scheming. Rand grabs her arm, trying to calm her down. But Marion isn't having it, saying she heard everything. She asks if it's true he refused the succession and what on earth he's actually planning. She yells that while he fooled the others, she's no idiot. Rand tries to de-escalate, telling Logan that the story about the Kairosi really shook their mother. But Logan just says it's fine, turning to face Marion. He thinks that despite the grudge she's holding, she's already lost. Cairo betrayed her, and with that, she's no longer a real threat, and that right there, that changes everything. Logan kept thinking, if he could just handle this one moment correctly, maybe she would actually accept his apology. He sincerely admits to Marion that his actions these past few months were completely untrustworthy. He confesses. He deeply regrets what he did, all of it driven by jealousy and insecurity. Hearing this, Marion just explodes, yelling that she was right all along. But Rand jumps in, begging his mother to stop, just for a moment. He apologizes to Logan again, explaining she's not herself right now. Logan, however, barely seems to register Marion's outburst. He turns to Ryan. He tells him to listen closely, because Ryan is the one who truly deserves an apology. Ryan is floored, asking him what on earth he's talking about. Logan explains that he's been apologizing ever since he returned, but he could never quite say what for. Seems like the cowardice and regret from all those years weren't so easy to shake off. Ryan demands his brother explain what in the hell is going on, and here's where the truth comes out. Logan implies Ryan already knows that for years he'd actually hated him. He admits he tried to cover up his own incompetence by resenting his brother. And now he truly regrets every single pathetic moment of those wasted years. He asks Ryan to accept his formal, sincere apology. Then he bows his head deep. He asks for his brother's forgiveness. After that bombshell, Ryan just stares. He doesn't say a single word. Logan, head still bowed, thinks to himself that in the end, good deeds don't erase the bad ones. He feels just as naive as he's always been. Then Ryan breaks the silence. He tells Logan it's okay. Logan looks up, completely shocked. Ryan says he always believed that if he just kept being kind. Even when Logan was cold, the brother he knew would one day return, and he smiles at him, and you and I can feel the weight lift. A smile that's enough to bring a grown man to tears. Logan is overjoyed. He wonders why he hesitated for so long to do something so simple. He then turns to his mother, telling Marion that he genuinely cares for Ryan. He says he honestly hopes Ryan becomes the next head of the family. He knows he can't ask her to trust him right away, so he just asks her to watch. Everything he does from this point forward will be for the good of the family. As Marion walks off, Logan figures that apology is a good enough start for now. Cut to a forest somewhere, Logan and Hammer are walking together. Hammer asks where the hell they're going right after getting back from a war. But Logan says he's had enough rest, it's time to get back to it. Hammer complains that he's just anxious to get started, muttering about how he plans to enjoy all the rewards he earned this time around. But Logan just smirks, assuring Hammer he'll definitely enjoy this task. Hammer is skeptical, thinking Logan has no idea what he's talking about. They stop in a clearing and Hammer's jaw just drops, Logan's grand plan. He wants to open a mine. The discussion about the barony of Tesserin was over. Patrick continues, explaining Logan's desired reward. It seems our warrior wants the right to explore the hill near the Tesseran border. Patrick mentions that while they call it a hill, it's actually a total wasteland with absolutely nothing there, so he asks the warrior, "Why that spot exactly?" But Logan just smirked, saying there might be some gold buried under the land. Turns out, the real reason Tesseran launched a war was revealed a year after the fighting stopped. Tesseran had secretly started exporting gold from a hill in Emmeline territory that they'd seized. And let me tell you, that one mine made Tesseran's family way more powerful than they had any right to be, until Rand McClan took his revenge. Deep inside the Tesseran family's underground prison, Kaizelin mentioned some peculiar inmates, telling Logan he should take a look. One of the prisoners swears he's innocent, that he's only locked up because he filled a request from the Count himself. He was hired to bring gold from the mine, but the Viscount threw them in here anyway. Logan just puts a hand to his face, absolutely floored by Tesseran's sheer stupidity. He can't believe the man imprisoned 5 of his own priceless mining experts. And seeing this, one of the prisoners asks if Logan is getting angry on their behalf, but here's where we see his true colors. The young man's inner businessman just took over. Logan saw an unexpected payday. The old man just stares, wondering what this kid's deal is. He's thinking they barely survived the war against Tesseran, but that was just a tiny wave. Okay, you and I need to pay attention, because this is the real endgame. The Empire's invasion is nothing compared to the final blow coming in 1 year. The death of King Samuel Fun Grandia. The king's sudden end triggers a brutal fight between the 3 princes, sparking a 3-year civil war that leaves the kingdom's military in shambles. And before they can even think about recovering, the Empire's full invasion begins. This was the first domino to fall that led to the kingdom's ruin. The McLeans weren't allied with any faction, so staying neutral could mean just watching from the sidelines. But Logan, he sees an opportunity and refuses to let it pass. He declares he'll use the chaos to take back their old lands and rule the Southwest once again. And if he can, he'll end the civil war and maybe do a little something more, but just as he's about to spill it, someone cuts him off. It's Hammer asking what he's spacing out for. He'd been calling Logan's name over and over with no response. Logan snaps out of it, realizing he needs to focus. They only just survived their last crisis, barely. Thinking about the future means he has to build up his strength and fast. But for now, that plan would just sound like pure madness, so whatever he does, it has to be with his own cash. And trust me, that hill is about to become the golden goose that funds everything. Logan tells his servants there's gold in the middle of that hill. He wants to dig a mine and asks them for a cost estimate. The servants are just stunned. Hammer figures it's another one of his master's crazy schemes. The old man thinks Tesseran paid well, so he agreed, but a whole gold mine. That might be pushing it. He asks Logan if he's absolutely certain there's gold there. Logan confirms it without hesitation. He saw it with his own 2 eyes. The old man asks how that's even possible. Logan explains it's a top-secret op. Only the 6 of them will do the digging. Seeing this, the old man figured Logan was trying to get rid of them. He questioned how just 6 men could handle all the drilling, calling it a huge exaggeration. And trust me, even with a Doherty, that's an insane ask. But he held his tongue and just prayed Hammer would take care of it. Hammer looked the young man dead in the eye, telling him to prepare to die, sleep less, and just give up on living a normal human life. Seeing that intense look, the old man knew he was completely screwed. Logan, however, was impressed. That's Hammer for you, a true worker's mentality. Logan declared that now they were ready and asked again for the budget. The old man explained they'd need to drill just to get an estimate of the gold deposits, and that the initial investment alone would be at least 5 million gold. Hammer added that safely developing the mine would take a very long time. Just the prep work would take about 6 months, and full extraction would be another 6 on top of that. Logan said that was about what he expected, meaning he'd need a ton of time and money. But that mine made Viscount Tesserin richer than entire Count families. He had to get it. He figured if he could sell the monster meat now, he'd have the cash, but its effects wouldn't be proven for at least another 6 months. But then an idea sparked. What if he didn't have to wait? And this is where his genius plan kicks in. If he could deal with the meat's toxicity, it could be used as a medicine right away. He'd neutralized countless poisons as a mercenary, so creating an antidote. He could do that if he made the formula and sold it. He'd be rich. A week later, in the southwest village, Rick brought Logan the fake medicine he'd made from crushed night herb, web herbs, and drip grass. Logan corrected him, telling Rick it's not fake, it's just a neutralizing agent. Then he asked where the monster meat was. Rick said it was in the village warehouse, exactly where he asked him to put it. Logan grinned, saying it was perfect and that they were going to put the medicine on the meat. Rick completely freaked out, asking if he seriously had to go with him. Logan confirmed it. But Rick was not having it, warning Logan that he's never been in there and had no idea what they were about to face. Logan was getting irritated. Why was this kid being so dramatic all of a sudden? But then it hit him. I'm not kidding. The smell was so bad it made a sewer seem pleasant. Logan admitted he knew it would stink, but this was on another level, making him want to vomit. It looked like the kid was already losing it. But Logan found a simple solution. He just used his aura to block the smell. After that, he was ready to head inside, telling Rick it was time to start. Rick, however, was stunned to see Logan perfectly fine while he was still about to throw up. When he asked how, Logan explained he'd paralyzed his sense of smell using his force. Rick called him selfish for not sharing. Logan shot back that if it bothered him that much, he should awaken his own force and do whatever he wants. He then handed Rick a white powder, the neutralizer. Now pay attention, because these next instructions are critical. He said to use just enough to make the outer layer turn white, warning him that the remaining black parts were pure poison. After that, he had to chop it finely and rolls it into tiny balls. Once he has a prototype, he asks Rick if it actually looks like medicine, and Rick gives a thumbs up. Logan grins, saying they'll sell it as medication, and get this, Rick is going to be making it all. So he needs to pay close attention, but Rick immediately refuses, saying he won't do it for any price. Logan then casually offers 100 gold coins for each pill. Suddenly, Rick's principles are out the window. Logan, however, is a little annoyed. He was really hoping to get this done for free. Anyway, he tells Rick they have to test the product's effectiveness first. Rick asks what it even does, and Logan explains it's a special medicine for men. But Rick still doesn't get the hint. Logan just calls him an annoyance and says he'll only explain once, so he better listen up, and here's where it gets wild. An image of 2 rabbits appears, a male and a female. The guy looks pretty down because he's too weak to even stir the pot with his little foot. So the female rabbit offers him some special tea. This stuff turns him into a super rabbit and makes his little foot 4 times bigger than before. Now he can finally stir that pot like a champion. After this insane analogy, Logan asks Rick if he finally gets it. Rick's eyes go wide. Oh, he gets it now. And he has the perfect guinea pig in mind for the test. Intrigued, Logan asks who it is. Rick just grins and says Mr. Dwayne. In the next scene, Dwayne is knocking on Logan's office door and hears a come in. He apologizes for bothering him, saying he heard he was summoned. Upon entering the room, Dwayne can't find Logan anywhere. Suddenly, he appears right behind him like Dracula, giving the poor guy the scare of his life. Logan says he was waiting for him, and Dwayne practically leaps back like a basketball player, nearly having a heart attack. He yells at Logan, telling him not to sneak up on people like that. Logan just casually approaches, offering to massage his shoulders, saying he knows he's been tired from handling all the post-war chaos. But Dwayne insists he's fine and that Lord Emlan is having a much harder time. Logan mentions his father even fainted from pure exhaustion. Dwayne just retorts it only happened because Logan scared him half to death. Logan tells Dwayne he knows he's been through a rough time lately. And that's when Dwayne just snaps, yelling they're broke. They spent every last coin on the war, and the servants and knights have no idea. But they keep hounding him for money, giving the entire administration a massive headache. Dwayne says he must have misunderstood Logan all this time, not expecting him to be so considerate of their struggles, but he doesn't get to finish that sentence. Logan cuts him off, asking if all that stress is the reason for his trouble in bed. Hearing that, the poor guy freezes like a statue. He lunges for the door, trying to make a run for it, but Logan asks him to hear him out and hands him the pill. Logan claims it's a patented product from the Philip Cale merchantry, with guaranteed results from a single dose. Of course, he's thinking to himself that he's never actually tested it before. Dwayne reluctantly swallows the pill, eyeing it suspiciously as Logan asks him what. He thinks he's getting the very first pill as a gift before anyone else. A little while later, Dwayne is seen sprinting down the castle hallways, straight for Logan and Rick. "You and I both know this is where the real fun begins." And just like that, we see his plan is working perfectly. Dwayne is already back for more. Rick tries to lecture him about running, but the man could not care less. He immediately asks Logan how much he wants for the pills. The poor guy looks like he would absolutely kill for them. Seeing this, Logan flashes a predatory grin. He announces that the medicine was a huge success. Rick, annoyed by the whole scene, grumbles that no one is even paying attention to him. While Logan tells Rick to give him his hand, Dwayne is panting, sweating, and kneels right before Logan. It seriously looks like he's about to propose, and even worse. Logan looks like he's about to accept while Rick just watches, completely stunned. Logan hands a wooden box full of pills to Dwayne, who receives it like it's the greatest honor of his life. It turns out that after the first test, men were literally bowing before him. And the experiments continued like this a few more times. Sometime later in the office, Logan corners Henkel, saying he heard rumors that he and his wife were fighting. Henkel denies it and demands to know who would dare spread such lies. But he doesn't get to say anything else. "Now watch this," Logan tells him to shut up. Then he shoves a pill right down his throat. He was Logan's second test subject. Henkel swallows the pill, and you can see the effects hit him instantly. He turns toward the door and tries to say something, but Logan cuts him off, telling him to just go see his wife. He promises he'll handle things with his father. Hearing this, Henkel thanks him with a massive smile. And like a force of nature, he bolts from the room for what we can only imagine is going to be a very, very good night. Later, we see Patrick in his office. He was the third person the young man experimented on. And Patrick also seems incredibly satisfied with the results. Looking towards his father's room, Logan thinks to himself that he almost feels bad for Ran. Looks like he's about to get another little sibling, and he won't be the youngest anymore. Seeing all this chaos, Rick finally gets mad and asks Logan why he was never asked to test the pill. "After all, I know what you're thinking. He was the one who worked the hardest on it." Logan gives him a blank stare, glances down at his private parts, and just walks away. Rick yells after him, asking what that weird look was supposed to mean. Logan stops and, without even turning around, replies that he wouldn't get a chance to use the pill anyway. It would just be a total waste. He even tells him not to follow because he stinks. At this point, you can tell Logan absolutely enjoys torturing this poor guy. Next, he's seen talking with Philip through a magic orb. Philip admits that if this medicine is as good as Logan claims, there's going to be a huge demand. He asks how much our young man plans on charging, and Logan replies that it'll be 100 gold for a single pill, and 10,000 for a set of 10. Philip seems hesitant about that price and asks if he thinks the nobles in the capital are fools, warning that he'll get into trouble. Logan confidently replies that no, they aren't fools at all. He explains that in his past life, the medicine was so successful that the price eventually skyrocketed. He insisted that if Philip supplied only a small, limited quantity, the product would sell for even higher prices. Philip listened carefully and agreed it made sense, then paid for another 10 minutes of communication. Logan continued, saying they'd achieve incredible results if a famous person tried the product and gave a testimonial. Someone famous who really needed the medicine. Trust me, Philip was at a loss for words, arguing that no noble would be that desperate. Willing to announce his condition was cured after taking just one pill. Logan points out they don't need to announce anything. So many people are watching the nobles that even a whisper of a rumor will have them swarming like bees to honey. Hearing this gives Philip an idea. He tells Logan to attend the party in the capital. Logan is furious. Is he serious? He snaps back that the only party he's ever been to was with mercenaries after a war. His family never had money for that stuff. Philip pushes, saying parties are great for making contacts, even just for business. It would take time, and Logan couldn't just sell the medicine at a party. But his words spark an idea in the young man's head. Philip immediately panics. Is he really thinking of doing that? He warns that Logan's family would be completely shunned by high society. Logan smirks, not if he doesn't actually sell anything there. He then mentions a top-tier informant in the capital. Asking Philip to find the guy and get all the information he can, Philip is hesitant. What informant? What is he planning this time? You and I both know Logan's already 5 steps ahead. Logan just says he's heading to Grand soon and will explain everything then. Hearing this, Philip gets a very bad feeling. 1 week later, Logan arrives. The capital city of the Grandia Kingdom, Gran, Philip stares in disbelief. He can't believe he actually came and asks how he got his family's permission. A noble's son showing up in the capital to hawk aphrodisiacs. That's not something you see every day. Logan assures him he didn't exactly tell the truth. Although hauling 3,000 boxes without a servant was a bit of a challenge. He figures his father let him go easier than expected. Probably because of all he accomplished during the war. Philip points out that, come to think of it, Logan didn't have a servant when they first met either. He asks if it's really okay for a noble to wander around alone like that. But Logan says having a servant just slows you down. Besides, his servant has his own important work to do. He thinks of Rick and the huge task ahead of him. He admits that even though he treats him harshly sometimes, in this life and his past one, Rick has always done everything for him, and he's truly grateful. We see a shot of Rick in his thoughts. Apparently, that's how Rick stole the pills. Annoyed, Logan warned him that if he shook him and even one pill fell out, Rick would catch a punch for every single one. That's what you call tough love. Then Logan declares that he's made up his mind. He's got an idea. In a flashback, Logan announces that to celebrate all his hard work, he's naming the medicine. Yimpul Rick, the best way to honor a man's legacy. You name an impotence pill after him. At that moment, Philip was sure of it. Logan had to be an absolute lunatic. Inside the dorm, Philip tells him he must be tired from the long trip and suggests they go recover at a bar. Logan tells him to watch his mouth. You don't talk about a guy who can't get it up in a place with so many people listening in. Philip agrees this environment is much better for discussing sensitive matters. He then says he met the informant and asks Logan if he's really sure about paying 900 gold per document. Logan admits he's expensive, but trust me, you're about to see a masterclass in information gathering. They would get the perfect data. Philip assured him he had made the request. Exactly as instructed. First, a document with the names of nobles married in the last 10 years who still had no children. Second, nobles with no mistresses or second wives. And third, names of nobles who frequently sought out food for stamina. Hearing this, Logan agreed the criteria were absolutely perfect and their plan would be fine. He praised Philip's excellent work not just on this task, but for everything he'd asked Philip to complete in the capital. Philip just replied that it wasn't all that difficult. The real crisis was the day he heard the news about the war, he told Logan. He couldn't even imagine how worried he was after hearing the war had ended. That night, Logan, staring at a piece of paper, was glad to see Philip actually cared about his clients. That joy, however, did not last long at all. Philip commented that just thinking about the mountain of monster meat he'd have to sell completely killed his appetite. After all, who would buy that garbage? Logan snapped, throwing the paper right at Philip, telling him to just shut up and read it. As the paper hit him, Philip wondered why it hurt so much. He started reading while Logan asked which name on the list he thought would be a good first target. Now watch this. A single tear rolls down Philip's eye. He's just noticed something huge. Seeing this, Logan waits for him to say it. The young man points his finger at a name on the sheet and asks Logan what he thinks about this particular person. Logan glanced at the name he was pointing to, and his expression changed to one of pure shock. He recognized that name. Later, inside a grand ballroom with a massive chandelier, people were drinking champagne. The figure of a very large man stood out among them. In a red jacket and black pants, he chatted with some beautiful women. That man was Count Davis, and his name was just shouted by Logan to get his attention. The Count looked back, his face a mix of disbelief and what looked like fear. Logan walks right up to introduce himself, stating his name, Logan McLean, eldest son of House McLean. Count Davis tries to hold back a laugh, maintaining his composure as he greets his new guest and welcomes him to the party. He looks at Logan's clothes, finding them tacky, and wonders what farm he came from, thinking that must be the latest fashion. Out in the Southwest, Logan knew he was wearing the clothes Philip had recommended, and as he expected, nobody liked them. He concluded that the clothes were a good choice. He didn't have time to make useless friends at a meaningless party like this. His only target was Count Davis, the fallen one, a major figure in the Grandia Kingdom's treasury, sure, and married at 20, but still a man who had no children to this day. And here's the kicker you and I have been waiting for. In Logan's past life, he had become quite famous, not for a good reason but for being the Count who killed himself, all because of his wife. An old fight between them is shown. His wife is screaming, calling him an impotent bastard right in the middle of a party. Because of that incident, the bomb his wife dropped drove him to take his own life. Logan knew that for a noble, reputation is everything. How others saw him was everything, and this guy fit the bill perfectly. He met all three conditions Logan gave his informant, the perfect first client. The young man approaches the Count, saying he was just passing through the capital on business and came to pay respects after hearing of his fame. The Count scoffs, asking what kind of business Logan could possibly have when the capital already has everything it could ever need. He sneers that since Logan's from the countryside, he must have some fascinating local products. Logan just smiles, saying he's sure the capital doesn't have what he's selling, which is exactly why he's here. He explains it's a special medicine just for men. Then he leans in close and whispers the magic word, stimulant. Hearing this, the Count freezes, bites his lip, and then explodes, shouting for everyone to hear about this nobleman's son peddling shady stimulants. Two girls nearby just watch the scene, completely embarrassed for everyone involved. The Count smirks, thinking this country bumpkin has some nerve. He looks at Logan's face and thinks he's won, but you and I both know this is far from over. Our boy just lets out a deep sigh, ready to make his real move on the pompous noble. Logan then tells Davis that as a courtesy, he brought a gift for the city's most influential people and asks him to accept it. He hands over a small box, telling him it's called Impulry, and that each one will sell for 100 gold coins. He explains that these three are a special gift for the Count, guaranteeing it's a powerful medicine with 0 side effects, staking his noble honor on the line. And just like that, Davis starts to sweat. A a few days later, Logan gets a visitor. It's a servant from Count Davis, sent to buy more. Logan and Philip greet him at the door, confirming he's the Count's man. A little later, the servant is seen leaving with a leather briefcase as Philip thanks him for the purchase and tells him to come again soon. Philip heads back inside and counts the money. 10,000 gold for 10 boxes, not bad for a first sale, right? But Logan isn't happy. He says they need to do way better than this, since the rent on this tiny shop alone costs 10,000 gold. Philip, however, reminds him that this is the heart of the capital. What did he expect? He tells Logan he has no idea the trouble he went through just to rent this spot. He argues that strategically they need a physical store, because nothing has a bigger impact than seeing a crowd with your own eyes. Logan agrees and announces he's off to a party. Philip is not thrilled. He complains that Logan's been partying almost every single day since they got to Gran, sometimes hitting 2 parties in one night. Logan explains that landing Count Davis as a client isn't enough. He has to go out and promote the store to every single person on that list. A week later, Count Davis's servant is walking through the streets again, still in disbelief that the Count wants him to buy even more of that medicine, especially since no other health supplement has ever worked for him before. But when he gets to the shop, he freezes in shock. You have got to see this, a huge line of men. All right, check this out. The line for this medicine stretches all the way down the block, and as the servant watches the people, he's wondering what the big deal is until it hits him. He recognizes every single face. One of the men is Vic, Count Talon's chamberlain, and the guy right in front of him. That's Count Hamel's own butler, desperately trying to hide his face under his hat. He knows this will stir up all kinds of unnecessary gossip. This is bad. His only plan, buy the medicine and leave, but just as he does, Philip comes out. He steps out of the shop to make an announcement to the entire line. He's sorry, but unfortunately for them, the stock for today is completely sold out. Hearing this, the servants waiting to buy medicine for their masters are absolutely shocked. One of them immediately confronts Philip, wanting to know what he's talking about. Sold out, nobody said a word about that before. Philip just apologizes again. He explains that Impul Rick is unbelievably popular, but production can't keep up. So now sales are limited to just 50 boxes a day. Now, pay attention to what happens next. 2 of the guys get desperate, begging Philip to just sell them something, anything. If they return empty-handed, their masters are definitely not going to be understanding. While all this chaos is unfolding, another noble passes by with his servant. Seeing the commotion, he immediately sends his own man to figure out what's going on. And all the while, Logan watches from the shadows, a satisfied grin on his face. He knew that by limiting the supply, the demand would absolutely skyrocket. And seeing that crowd, you and I both know it's the perfect bait for other curious nobles. Everything was going exactly as he planned. Philip then shouts for everyone to hear that the day's stock is gone and they need to come back tomorrow, the next day. Sold out again, and the same thing happens on the 3rd day, leaving the nobles furious. They're all wondering just how many more days this is going to happen. The young man reports that it's been incredible, with daily sales going through the roof. For over a month, they've sold out the very second they open the doors. He comments that at this rate, 1.5 million gold in a month isn't impossible. Hearing this, Logan sarcastically asks who knew the capital had so many problems. So many impotent nobles. He says they've already tripled the price since mid-year. But people are still willing to pay more and more, which makes him worry about the future of the kingdom. After saying this, he glares at Philip. A dead serious expression, and then it breaks into a wild, maniacal grin. Like a predator who just found its next meal, he begins to laugh out loud. His voice echoes from the shop, making people on the street turn their heads. In the end, he was just incredibly happy. He grabs Philip by the neck and starts messing up his hair, calling him an admirable brat who did a fantastic job. Philip, meanwhile, is starting to turn purple from the lack of air. He bows and thanks Logan for all his effort. Logan looks down and says it's good. That Philip recognizes his own hard work because starting next week, he's going to receive 1% of the total sales for himself. Suddenly, Philip goes ballistic. He starts shouting that he'll do his absolute best and even tries to kiss Logan. All of this happens while a mysterious figure watches from the street, his wrinkled face covered by a hood and a blonde beard. Next up, in a sorcery shop, Logan is using the communication line, shouting from the back of the room that it'll be at least 10 tons of gold per year, and trust me, this is just the beginning. Stick with me because this call is about to change our guy's life forever. He asks if it's for real, and on the other line, Amber confirms it. Amber explains the miners are reporting a high chance of finding gold nuggets. They're just buried in a deeper layer. The kid stares at the orb like a madman. Teeth clenched, fists tight, he's already doing the mental math. Even a rough estimate of 10 tons of gold is 100 million gold coins. This is the jackpot, the biggest lottery win he could ever imagine. But Amber points out the mining costs are no joke, asking Logan if he can afford it. Just starting the operation will cost about 5 million gold. Logan assures Amber he has everything under control, telling him to just wait. He says he'll get the money and workers together fast. Amber doesn't seem worried. He just tells Logan to take it easy on the crew. Later that night, Logan is in the city. He's walking the streets, thinking about that massive initial investment. About 5 million gold. He figures if he keeps selling his products, he'll earn around 4.5 million gold per month. Come to think of it, selling for just 2 months would still leave him with extra cash, since he has 700 boxes of his medicine left. He's thinking about going home to get more merchandise and starting on that mental training, but then something catches his eye. It completely snaps him out of his thoughts. He looks over at the shop. And here's where it gets serious. He senses someone's inside. Instantly, he's moving. He figures it has to be robbers. The warrior kicks the door clean open. It slams against the wall as he starts searching everywhere, but there's a problem. The room is completely empty.